Kim Dane, an ordinary young man with nothing remarkable about him, is suddenly pulled into the world of the superhero comic Stardis. There, Kim Dane makes a bold choice, to become a villain named Egotic, not only to challenge and elevate the power of the heroine Stardis, but also to proactively prevent the tragic catastrophes that occurred in the original story. His determination burns like a vow engraved in his soul, to protect this world, and above all, to protect her. Yet fate always finds a way to twist things. Stardis, the heroine who once looked at him with suspicion, has now become strangely obsessed with Egotic, the mysterious villain she is determined to hunt down. One day, Kim Dane launches a daring plan called Hunt the Villain. With knowledge from the original, he knows these villains will soon become a terrifying threat. To protect the city and Stardis, he decides to act first, eliminating them before they can unleash chaos. Accompanying him is Sei, a genius with superintelligence. Through the earpiece, Sei's voice sounds cold but precise. Target is in sight, he's sitting motionless on the sofa. The perfect moment has come. Kim Dane tightens his weapon, his palm slightly sweaty. His first power, instantaneous teleportation, activates. In the blink of an eye, the cold barrel is pressed against Reno's forehead, an A-class villain. His second ability, psychokinesis, erupts like a dark lord. Kim Dane speaks in a low voice, a farewell from the realm of death echoing, "Welcome to hell." In less than a second, before Reno can react, he finishes him without hesitation. Done, Kim Dane coldly picks up the stack of papers the villain was holding. Just as predicted, it is a detailed terrorist plan, ready to drown the city in blood. In the original, Reno would become an S-rank villain, donning a rhinoceros mask and stealing hundreds of lives. But now, thanks to Kim Dane, that future has been erased. Sei's voice comes through the earpiece again, police and heroes are on their way. Before leaving, Kim Dane leaves a line written in blood on the doorframe, a message directed straight at Stardis. When the police and heroes rush in, they quickly realize that the perpetrator this time and the previous one are the same person. That writing is like a challenge. That sets Stardis ablaze with rage. The press begins to cover it widely. Under the articles, the public buzzes, many unexpectedly support Kim Dane's actions, criticize the hero's sluggishness, and exalt Egotic as a shadow enforcer of justice. In the small room, Kim Dane reads those comments. With a heart full of conflict, he pulls at his hair, his mind in turmoil. Sei sits beside him, glancing at him because of the noisy sound. The flame of determination in Kim Dane blazes more fiercely than ever. He cannot let things go this far. If this continues, his image will be glorified, while Stardis, the true hero, will be turned against by public opinion. To protect her, he must become an absolute villain, a dark shadow terrifying enough to strike fear across the world. From this moment, Egotic is officially born. He prepares a timed bomb, concealed in a backpack. In a crowded square, everyone is gazing at the big screen, waiting for a spectacular scene. At that moment, Kim Dane, under the name Egotic, hacks the system and takes over every electronic display in the city. His masked face appears in the live video, his deep voice ringing with authority. "I am the one who eliminated Reno and Enoch, two A-rank villains." He arrogantly points toward Tower 127, then gestures with his other hand toward the observation deck of Building 61. The crowds inside those buildings, as well as millions watching via screens, fall silent when he declares, "Those two buildings, I've planted bombs in them." Fear spreads like a tsunami. Some panic and scramble for exits, while others stand frozen, unable to believe their eyes. In front of hundreds of cameras, Kim Dane spreads a defiant smile and calls out to Stardis, "I'm waiting for you, hero." Not keeping him waiting long, Stardis appears, swift as a whirlwind, descending with such force that the ground trembles. Kim Dane checks everything, the cloak, the mask, all perfect, but his hands are still trembling. This is the first time he directly faces the character he loves most in the Stardis story, radiant as a goddess, so beautiful his heart skips a beat. "Whoa!" he exclaims, unable to contain his admiration. In that moment, time seems to stand still. Memories flood back, the first day he was pulled into this world, his body battered with wounds, standing on the razor's edge between life and death. He once longed to return to his old world, until the screen lights revealed Stardis's face. That very moment changed everything. If he became a hero, he could stand beside her. But Kim Dane, who had memorized every line of the story, knew that even a hero wouldn't be enough to protect her from those fated tragedies. So he chose the path of villainy, not to destroy, but to become an unshakable bulwark, shielding Stardis from all threats. Back when Kim Dane was only 15, the brutal, gut-wrenching laughter of the man being mocked on TV never ceased. Ha ha ha. His face was elated, laughing maniacally. Ha ha ha. Back then I really didn't get it. Was Jackie actually crazy? Even for a villain, this one went overboard. Now, having understood a villain's mindset, he confidently lets out a terrifying laugh. Ha ha ha. Despite the hero before him staring with furious eyes, ready to smash him to pieces at any moment, the world seemed to freeze. Even the murmuring crowd below, it felt like there was only a hero and a villain left on the rooftop. Rewind a few minutes before the two officially met. Kim Dane pointed at Stardis with a smug look. I know what you're thinking right now. He spoke coldly, even my subordinate controlling the broadcast has a detonation switch. So don't think you can overpower me with strength. The hero's step faltered at those words. He spread his arms. Behind him, a swarm of drones hovered in the air. This stage I created is reserved just for Stardis. How do you like it? She scowled in response. You madman. Release the innocent people now. A few punches and arresting you would be enough. Kim Dane kept a nonchalant smile, tilted his head, and raised his hand to the camera. Yes, release them. That's the word of the righteous hero Stardis. Everyone, look at me. Now I'll unlock elevator A at the observation floor. He snapped his fingers. Click. A sound rang out from the elevators in both buildings. Stardis's brows tightened slightly. She knew villains too well, it could never end that easily. Some residents in the building saw the elevator working again and rushed toward it. Hurry up. Someone shouted, but then a piercing sound cut them off. Wait, Kim Dane smirked, this is still part of my plan. If you release them now, where's the fun? He pointed to the glowing descent button. Look, just press that button and the bomb at the observation deck across will detonate. Simple, right? He sang out, 30 minutes until the bomb goes off. Before then, hurry up and choose. Kim Dane had become a true devil, using words to tempt the weak-minded crowd. Hurry up, after all, they're strangers, right? On the big screens, chaotic footage from inside the building was broadcast widely. The cries of children, quarrels, and pleas mixed together. Stardis gritted her teeth and growled softly, you bastard. But Kim Dane ignored her, pretending not to hear. Today, I'll show everyone the depths of human selfishness. This is Egotic's game. Inside the buildings, people began to panic. If the other side presses first, we'll die. But if we don't press, we'll die anyway. No, there's 30 minutes left. Does he really intend to kill people with just a button? Yeah, seems so. They were all anxious and doubtful. Will the other side press it? There was no time to think. The bomb would explode in a few dozen minutes. Tension spread through the air. Damn it! What is the hero doing? Someone shouted. Stardis stood there, unable to act rashly. Though she could rush and take him down in an instant, if there truly was a detonator elsewhere, everything would be meaningless. Damn, if this continues, the hostages will. Her gaze grew ice-cold, her voice choked. Is playing with people's lives fun for you? Facing her, Kim Dane remained unfazed, eyes squinting as he smiled. Haha, the fun isn't in that. Stardis, one of South Korea's few A-rank heroes, someone who always believes in justice and her own convictions, never compromising with evil. Actually, I quite respect you, Stardis. Those words flushed her with anger. What nonsense are you talking about? Kim Dane gleefully rubbed his nose, proud. I just wanted to praise you while the whole country is watching you on TV. His voice carried again, drawing all attention. Seeing her helpless and unable to act, Kim Dane smiled maniacally and reached to touch the bomb button. This is truly fascinating. His form blurred and his voice rang coldly. I'll give you a chance to join this game, too. Now I'll connect you to those desperately waiting for the hero. Stardis looked momentarily stunned, staring at him warily. What? Kim Dane continued the performance. If you succeed in convincing them, and in 30 minutes no one presses the button, he crossed his legs, grinning wickedly, the bomb won't detonate. Stardis of course didn't believe him. You expect me to trust a bastard like you? But Kim Dane was unfazed, even goading her, better than letting them helplessly stare at the sky, right? She clenched her fist at her side, furious but powerless to act. Kim Dane gestured, come on. Let's begin. A shout echoed, and all cameras immediately turned toward Stardis. 3, 2, 1. After the countdown, a dramatic scene unfolded. The hero's face appeared on massive LED screens across the buildings. Citizens recognized her all at once. Stardis took a deep breath amid the invisible pressure, looking into the lens as if into the eyes of millions. Hello everyone. I'm A-rank hero Stardis. Each person held their own belief in their heart. Kim Dane watched silently, his face slack. Yes, this is what I wanted. A half-real, half-fake world, just like a dream. He would be portrayed in the public eye as a terrorist villain. His dream came true, and she would shine. "This is the stage for you, Stardis." Her voice rang out, strong and warm, so that later, people can be proud of the choice they make today. "Show this villain that we are strong. Our faith will never waver. We will never bow to evil. Thank you, everyone." Kim Dane barely raised a corner of his mouth, a mysterious smile spreading. The countdown on the screen read only 5. Those trapped in the building held each other tightly and prayed. Stardus's face was filled with worry. When the number reached its end, everyone closed their eyes and waited. No one knew whether the punishment would fall, or whether the villain would keep his word. At that moment, all the cameras fell, accompanied by Kim Dane's frantic screams, "Impossible! Impossible!" The cameras captured his anguished, stunned face. So, they didn't throw themselves out to live? Impossible. There must be at least one person who pressed the button. There must be a selfish bastard like me. Kim Dane clutched his head, murmuring in despair, "People can't be this kind, why?" Then Stardis spoke up, "Egotic, people aren't as selfish as you think." Her image shone like light, her voice resolute. "No one is entirely selfless, but I believe in people's goodness." Kim Dane looked at her and smiled faintly. "It's because of you, Stardis. You made them unite." He suddenly changed expression, a crooked smile appearing. "How interesting, Stardis." Kim Dane politely bowed before Stardis charged forward. "In the next game, Kim Dane will surely see you one last time." Stardus's steadfast blue eyes made him exclaim. Her gaze was full of righteousness. Finally he vanished with the assertion, "I will win." The entire populace erupted in joyous celebration. They cheered and hugged one another, celebrating the hero's victory. Everyone chanted Stardus's name in unison. Still, the hero remained silent, standing in place. Kim Dane had already quickly teleported elsewhere. The moment he touched down, he collapsed powerless. That was exhausting. He groaned in complaint. "Oh my god, I'm going to die." This was the consequence of teleportation, a dangerous side effect of instantaneous movement, bodily injury scales with the distance teleported. His body was so heavy he couldn't even crawl. "Ugh, I'll probably be bedridden for days." A girl exclaimed, "I told you not to change that hat, didn't I?" The white-haired girl looked at him with disdain. "It's so ugly." Kim Dane murmured, pleading, "Oh, you're really about to die. Give me a glass of water." She dusted off her skirt and cruelly walked away. "Drink it yourself." Leaving him frozen in place. The large screen flashed breaking news. Terrorism at the building, number of casualties 0. Stardis hovered in the air, teeth clenched with hatred. Playing with others' hearts? Next time I'll catch you, for sure. She vowed to remember that name until she caught him. Egotic. One early morning at the Korea Hero Association, the organization for those with superhuman abilities. The big screen displayed numerous tabloid headlines recently posted online. The radio kidnapper watched by the whole nation. Who is the villain who named Hero Stardis? Review his actions. Egotic, who is this A-rank villain? Hot topic. No casualties from the terrorism. The news spread across the peninsula and even abroad. Is Korean broadcast security safe? The meeting host turned to the next slide, an analytical profile on Egotic. The villain dossier and some facts about Kim Dane as Egotic, male, masked, likely capable of reducing residential identification, speculation. A pot-bellied, balding uncle spoke up, "Then let's begin the briefing." This was Park Joon-ho, president of the Korea Hero Association. Images appeared alongside a few crime scene shots in a closed room. He looked disgusted. "Alright, we've seen this part many times, move on." The host continued, "I'll explain yesterday's incident in detail. First, it appears the perpetrator exploited instantaneous teleportation to plant a bomb on the building's exterior beforehand. After disarming it, it was confirmed to be a high-yield improvised explosive, powerful enough to blow off the observation deck, concluding the bomb was handmade by him." Park Joon-ho rubbed his shiny head in distress. "Still no leads on the kidnapping?" The secretary replied awkwardly. "Yes, how he bypassed modern security systems to broadcast remains a mystery. They do have some specific analyses. However, since no one with wave-related powers has appeared before, we suspect he has an extremely skilled tech accomplice behind the scenes. That's the extent of the current conjecture." "An accomplice?" "It's highly likely that person built the bomb," the secretary said gravely. "One more thing I want to add, he seems obsessed with Stardis." All eyes immediately turned to the blonde-haired woman. From scattered clues, it's certain he left a message aimed at her at the scene. The case also confirmed he directly mentioned her through the villain's words, according to the report by the A-rank hero in charge. Hearing that, Park Joon-ho directly asked her, what did it feel like to confront that guy? He pointed straight at Stardis. She stood up slightly and offered her comment. He seems psychologically disturbed, enjoying toying with people's hearts. Moreover, he can organize large-scale terrorist acts, a truly dangerous villain. 2 days after the terrorist incident, in Kim Dane's room, he lay prostrate on the bed, groaning, "Oh my God, I'm going to die." He forced himself to sit up, then groped into the kitchen for something to eat. Just as he took a gulp of orange juice, a voice called out, "Are you doing that again?" Kim Dane startled, spat out the drink, and hurriedly explained, "It's not like that." "Say I'm not like that. Now let me introduce this girl. This is Hansel, she has a super intelligent ability." At first he wasn't used to the girl calling him a genius hacker. In the original story, the girl will grow up to become an S-rank villain, a genius hacker. Well, that's in the original. But for now, I've kept this girl by my side. The girl snapped, "This is my home. Don't act like it's your place." In fact, the two were in Hansel's underground base. Kim Dane smiled lightly, "Haha. Anyway, I pay for living expenses and everything." Hansel immediately threatened, "You should shut up and drink. Got it?" Kim Dane chuckled at that cute threat. He gently ruffled her hair, "Okay, got it." The warm moment didn't last long before the girl shyly pulled him away. Something else happened. "Hurry up." The door to the modern control room opened and closed. Hansel sat before the advanced control screens. "Remember that girl named Lubin I mentioned earlier? She's a candidate to be our assistant." Kim Dane didn't hesitate. The girl who works on the deep web? I think she's a fan of mine." The girl typed a few commands, then pointed at the screen, "Look, she's present here." Kim Dane heard the broadcaster's voice. Egotic's Fanatics are carrying out a terrorist act, taking hostages at Inan Center. They have planted a bomb in that building. He froze and stepped closer to the screen. What the hell? These lunatics, is that girl being held hostage here? Han Seo pointed at the trembling gunman. "No, it's the masked girl over there." The broadcaster continued to report, "The Fanatics claim they won't negotiate, seeking only terror and death. Police confirm at least 3 dead and about 300 hostages trapped in the building." Kim Dane's voice dropped. "Say what are our principles?" The girl clearly remembered her brother's instruction, never under any circumstances kill civilians. Danger flashed in Kim Dane's eyes. "We have to clear them out. Help me." Han Seo nodded resolutely. He began calculating a plan of action and surveying the scene. Over at the site of the attack, Stardis stood before the blazing building. She bit her lip, fell silent for a moment, then spoke into her radio, "Headquarters, I request permission to breach." From the other end, the commanding voice replied, "Not yet. Await orders. Only after police finish final negotiations will breach be authorized, with a kill order if necessary." This incident made her hate Kim Dane all the more. It's all because of that bastard. She ground her teeth. Previous terrorist acts were usually carried out by villains with superpowers. But this time, he used explosives and kidnapping as his spearhead instead of powers, a tactic that put heroes on the defensive. Clearly, his image of pressing heroes had inspired other ordinary people to imitate him. Stardust seethed in anger, since many copycat crimes occurred just after that day. Suddenly, a radio notification rang out. "Stardust, Egotic has appeared at the scene. He's streaming the interior live on YouTube." "What?" She gasped, immediately opening her phone. Indeed, the villain who once toyed with others' deaths had reappeared. Viewers poured in quickly. "What is this? The villain is live streaming the terrorist attack? The world's #1 villain." The chat was full of chaotic comments. "This is a crime scene. Yeah, as long as it's not me. Release Kim Jong-yu. Where's moderation? Another TV hijack?" The footage showed Kim Dane, as Egotic, standing inside the building, facing a group of people dressed just like him. They pointed guns and shouted, "Who are you?" Immediately after, they cheered. "Our hero, Egotic, has descended to this place. He will personally slaughter these idiots before your eyes." But Kim Dane only frowned, looking displeased. "Oh my God, I have to teleport a long distance just to deal with these guys, my whole body aches." "No, damn it," the terrorists panicked. "Gee, Gostic," he burst into loud laughter, "Ha ha ha. This is interesting." The terrorists didn't understand but forced a laugh along. At that moment, Han Seo's voice came through the earpiece. 3 o'clock position, the guy is by the pillar, holding a detonator. Kim Dane glanced quickly and confirmed the target. In an instant, the terrorist was blown apart, his body torn with a large hole like a donut. The others screamed in horror, "No! This person isn't Egotic. Surely it's disguised police." They immediately raised their guns. But before they could pull the triggers, the weapons flew from their hands. In a flash, Kim Dane's gun was pointed straight at each of them. He sneered, "I've never had fools like you as subordinates." Gunfire rang out. The building filled with smoke and screams. The scene was streamed live, leaving online viewers stunned. Wait, are they on the same side? How did he finish them so fast? My God, did he just kill them? Brutal. Who is Egotic to act like that? What are the heroes doing? The villain is saving people. Is this really happening? Just then, superiors authorized Stardis to enter, with top priority to ensure the hostages' safety. She rushed into the building and found only one assailant still standing, and he was the very person Kim Dane had been looking for. Han Seo's voice came through the earpiece, "Sir, save her." From my confirmation, she was forced by the terrorists and did not participate willingly. The girl curled up, clutching her head and sobbing, "Save me, hic, hic." Kim Dane stepped forward, his hand made her flinch. He forcibly removed her mask, his voice stern, "Did you do anything wrong? Yes or no?" The girl trembled, tears welling, "Okay, I admit it, hic. I admit it." The more she spoke, the harder she cried. Kim Dane frowned, "If you keep crying like that, you'll get shot." She quickly covered her mouth and fell silent. He turned to the hostages, then solemnly bowed, "I'm sorry. Although this didn't happen because of me, I bear responsibility for the copycat acts that arose from my case." This act triggered an online comment explosion. What? The villain is polite like this? Wait, what's actually going on here? Kim Dane continued in a calm voice, "To the hostages and everyone affected because of me, I will deposit compensation into your accounts. Please check. I offer my deepest apologies to the 3 victims who died. I will pay the highest possible compensation." Still, he hesitated inside. Transferring from fake accounts like this, it's easy to trace. "I don't know, Sei can handle it, right?" Han Seo sighed and replied, "Sai, just take her home now." You can tell she agreed to do it. Kim Dane only gave a faint smile. Kim Dane hoisted Lai Subin onto his shoulder. Hic. His body immediately felt like it was breaking apart. The effects of teleportation made his whole body tremble. Suddenly, a shockwave hit the entire floor. Kim Dane instantly realized, the only one who could do that was Stardis. She was rushing in. Before he could fully grasp the situation, a few days after that commotion, at Johai University, in a Chiu cafe, KPS News reported, "The villain is responsible for monetary compensation, the public is thrown into chaos." The villain Egotic bowed at the scene of the terrorist attack. Verifying the hostages' accounts is truly not easy. What kind of person is he? KPS's investigative headline. A blonde girl sat alone at a table, eyes fixed on her phone screen. Her finger scrolled through the comments. Who is this Egotic anyway, comma. The name Egotic sounds even more legendary than a hero. Suddenly, she sprang to her feet, about to rush off. Luckily, Kim Dane's legs went weak at that moment, so he managed to dodge in time. Stardis was truly too hasty and couldn't react in time. Oh my, and just like that, she let the villain slip away when she should have caught him. The more she thought about it, the angrier Shin Haru, Stardis's real name, sighed in frustration. Just then, another girl approached and pulled out a chair to sit. Shin Haru, what's wrong? Is the assignment too hard? It was Kim Chae-hyun, Haru's close senior. Haru snapped back to reality and looked up. It's nothing, sis. She bowed her head in embarrassment and pretended to focus on her work. I'm fine, just a little distracted. Stardis, Korea's A-rank hero, real name Shin Haru. On missions, she hid her identity with a cognition-reducing filter, so to others she appeared to be an ordinary student. Actually, maybe not entirely ordinary, since she was always the center of attention. Lately, what bothered her most was the name Egotic. Haru circled the name in her notebook, her eyes flashing with resentment. People are all selfish, she muttered. A big question formed in her mind, but why did he save the hostage? Suddenly, the person opposite pinched her cheek. Look at you, making that sad face again. Kim Chae-hyun cheerfully suggested. Forget the exercise for now, let's go get mango ice cream, your favorite, Haru. Haru's face immediately lit up, but then the image of Egotic's maniacal smile and perverted gaze flashed through her mind. Haha. Her expression suddenly darkened. Chae-hyun studied her expression and asked softly, even mango can't cheer you up. No way. No sooner had she finished than there was a cracking sound. Haru snapped her pen and muttered, "The mango is mine." Che Hyen laughed and coaxed like a child, "All right, the mango is yours, all yours." The fire in Haru burned like hell. "I'm haunted by that egotic. I will definitely make him reveal himself." Despite her anger, when fed a spoonful of mango ice cream, she still ate it in an oddly cute way. Meanwhile, in the heart of Seoul, where villains and heroes constantly clash, there was a house that looked very ordinary. But when the front door opened, another door beside the entrance appeared. When the second door was opened, a hidden elevator suddenly revealed itself. After entering the code, the door closed and the lift began descending dozens of underground floors. It was Egotic's base, also called the Ego Base. Kim Dane lay back in the glass chamber, proudly admiring his achievement. Han Seo frowned. "Hey, why did you just name someone else's house?" He replied nonchalantly, "Why? Between us, whose house is whose? Your house is my house, and my house is your house." The girl pouted in disdain. "That's so weird, totally ridiculous." Before she could say more, a pain in his knee made him writhe and scream. "Ow!" Han Seo snapped, "Stop talking nonsense and lie still so you'll heal faster." Kim Dane whimpered, "Don't say that, teleporting and carrying someone made me twice as tired." Suddenly, he grinned mischievously, "Han Seo, the one with superintelligence. I'm sure you're casting a hungry look my way." Where was I?" he said with satisfaction. Though she wasn't hired for that reason, the recovery capsule she engineered was genuinely effective. Han Seo glanced at him and gave a thumbs up with a strange look. "What's that about?" The door suddenly opened. The person he had risked his life to save in the terrorist incident walked in. "I'm home," Lai Subin said shyly. "I saw the fridge was empty. Do you guys want any snacks?" Kim Dane startled and shouted, "What? You're wanted and still going out?" She replied cheerfully, "I covered my face before going out." He froze. That's even more suspicious. Watching that, Kim Dane wondered inwardly, does this girl expect me to bring her home to do chores? He teleported directly in front of Han Seo. "Why did you tell me to bring this person back?" The girl unwrapped her ice cream and answered casually, "Oh, I was going to ask her to help with a bit of work." Kim Dane was stunned. "What? That should have been considered before she became a terrorist. Are you sure she won't open fire in our house?" Han Seo sighed. "That won't happen." She asserted firmly, "She had no intention of being a terrorist, your henchmen forced her out. They practically coerced her into participating." Then she pointed at Lai Subin. "Miss, no, sir, wait, Ms. Lai Subin, right?" The girl flinched. "Huh? How do you know my name?" Han Seo smiled mysteriously. "I know everything, even your household registry. Your parents are researchers at the Hansel Corporation, right?" Lai Subin's face went pale. "How did you know that?" Han Seo replied nonchalantly, "I read the posts you wrote on the deep web. That shielding system has a lot of holes." The girl stepped closer, eyes serious. "Ms. Lai Subin, do you want revenge? Revenge for what Hansel Corporation did to your parents?" She paused, her tone heavy with implication. "I'm looking for the leaders of Hansel Corporation." Kim Dane listened to Han Seo speak. The girl's voice was clear and decisive. "I've been harmed a lot too. I need to find those bastards and crush them to feel at ease. Will you help me?" Kim Dane barely furrowed his brow as he quickly pieced together Han Seo's motives in his head. So that's it, that girl is also a victim of the Hansel Corporation, like Han Seo. When I convinced Sei to become my first assistant, I also promised to help her get revenge. Of course, his real goal was to prevent Han Seo from becoming an S-rank villain as in the original story. After all, Lai Subin didn't leave much of an impression in the original, just a fleeting supporting role. That might be proof she's harmless, but we still have to see if she can be of any use to us. Suddenly, Kim Dane snapped awake when he saw the two girls in front of him hugging and sobbing loudly. He went blank, not understanding what was happening. "Who, sister, sob. Say, this development is fast, I'm the only one who can't keep up with my feelings." He blinked and sighed. "Your cool image is totally ruined now." He silently watched the two of them be emotional for a long while. Then quietly returned to the capsule, exhaling, "Fine, I'll just lie still and be safe." At night, in a cozy restaurant, everyone anxiously watched a young couple arguing. The atmosphere was silent except for the wife's sobs. "Sob, why are you doing this to me?" Tears streamed down her cheeks. The man opposite was silent, his cold gaze frightening her. "I'm confessing to you, so why the sad face?" The situation escalated, prompting nearby patrons to call the police. A police officer appeared and walked coldly to their table. "There's a report of assault, please come with me to the station." The man muttered curses. "Oh damn, at least let me eat a bit more, move along." The officer growled. Without waiting, he placed a hand on the man's shoulder. "All right, I'm officially placing you under arrest." Immediately, the man's body flashed with red light. In an instant, the officer was teleported to the edge of the building's rooftop railing. The man's perverse laugh rang behind him. "Shall we go to the station together?" Then he sneered and kicked contemptuously. "Fine, but I'll see you off first." The officer was taken by surprise, couldn't react, and fell straight to the ground. The man laughed coldly. "Who do you think you are to defy me? Fake cop. This is an A-rank villain, Kim Ha-chun, the one with spatial teleportation ability." The world in his eyes was desolate and soaked in blood. A scream echoed in the darkness. "You think killing me will change this world?" Han Seo, the White Witch N-rank villain in the original, now appeared looking completely different. Stardis couldn't tell how the hero felt in that moment, until a voice cut off the flashback. "Hey, get back to the present." Han Seo, 16 years old, loves orange juice. "You drank all my orange juice again, didn't you?" she shouted. Lai Subin, washing dishes, awkwardly spoke up. "Say, I'm sorry, I drank it. I'll buy you a new one." Immediately, Han Seo's face brightened. She hugged Subin and beamed. "It's okay, sis." Seeing this, Kim Dane winced, his tone dripping with sarcasm. "She wouldn't treat me like that." Then he suddenly asked, "By the way, say, did you finally stop pretending to be a boy?" The girl angrily shouted, "Kim Dane, stop teasing me." He took the chance to laugh heartily. Ha ha ha. Life for the three of them passed strangely happy and peaceful. Looking back, Han Seo's misfortune stemmed from the Kai Hoa project conducted by the Hansel Corporation. She was the sole survivor. Hundreds of children were subjected to illegal experiments. One day, a child developed an unexpected complication. The entire facility exploded, leaving only Han Seo alive, with her body covered in wounds. The girl fled the facility, hid in a basement, and built a secret shelter, which has now become their base. She lived alone for years until Kim Dane suddenly appeared. A chair crashed to the floor, making Han Seo as alert as a hedgehog with its quills raised. Kim Dane calmly made an offer. "Don't you want to avenge them? I need your help." Seeing her bewildered look, he reached out, his voice sincere. "I'm not here to harm you. I'm here to save you." That was the beginning of their current relationship. Unlike the original, where Han Seo became an S-rank villain out of hatred and met her end, this time Kim Dane vowed he would not let that happen. "I promise I won't let you walk the path of villainy." Still, a thought lingered in his mind. If Han Seo has become my accomplice, does that make her a villain? In any case, follow the right path. Sensing his scrutinizing gaze, Han Seo turned, scowling. "What are you looking at? You don't understand anything, so stop staring." Kim Dane's eyes flicked to the other person, Lai Subin. Both her parents were deceased researchers. She taught herself, worked her way up, and was admitted to a prestigious university. Kim Dane knew her profile. She majored in computer engineering, making her well suited to handle technical support for Han Seo. He took a sip of water and said evenly, "Although she's a bit suspicious, I have to admit her cooking skills are top-notch." Suddenly, Han Seo held up a tiny spider. "Done. This is a tracking sensor." Kim Dane looked blank. "A tracker for what?" The girl clicked her tongue. "Have you forgotten our line of work? It's for the name on the villain list you pick." He froze. Is the teleporting one him? Kim Dane knew very well, this guy could teleport infinitely over short distances without taking any harm. He can't be stopped by external force. He's tough, Han Seo said excitedly. "The harder it is, the more reason to take him out first." Kim Dane sighed and rubbed his head. "Do you understand how exhausting it is for me to keep teleporting non-stop?" "You don't need to understand, just do it," the girl shouted. Egotic, begin operation. The team quickly set off, heading to a small apartment in a remote area. Kim Dane crept onto the rooftop, anxious. "Say, have you gotten in yet?" Kim Dane crept onto the rooftop, anxious. "Say, have you gotten in yet?" The girl's voice came through the earpiece. "What are you doing? You still haven't gone in? Go now." He hesitated, tension in his chest. Is it safe to teleport straight into the living room? What if he's there? Han Seo sighed and repeated once more. "How many times have I told you? Trust me, Dane." Kim Dane fired a bullet equipped with a tracker. Even if the opponent teleported to dodge the bullet, the sensor would still stick to him. He glanced at the shiny gun in his hand, while Han Seo grew impatient. "I made it faster than a bullet." "You're a social sciences major, explanations won't help. Just go in. Still, he hesitated a little. Wouldn't it be quicker to kill him out on the street? Han Seo nearly flipped the table at her brother's slow pace. He never goes outside, he only teleports. I've investigated and prepared this plan completely. Han Seo grew anxious and took a sip of water. Lubin beside her cheered nervously, Egotic, go for it. Seeing that, Han Seo shyly added, Egotic, go for it. Kim Dane felt strengthened and excited, alright, thanks. Let's begin. Immediately, he teleported straight into the criminal's house, just as the man had finished showering. Startled by his appearance, he grunted. Immediately, Han Seo shouted into the earpiece, Dane, shoot. He raised the gun and pulled the trigger. Two tiny sensor-equipped spiders shot out at incredible speed. As predicted, Kim Hak-chun immediately teleported away. Kim Dane dropped the gun and asked anxiously, damn it, say, did the tracker stick? On the other end, Han Seo monitored closely, it's stuck. Subin, report his location. Lai Subin immediately checked, he's currently 500 meters east of here. Without hesitation, Kim Dane followed the directions. He teleported and appeared in the middle of a crowded street. People recognized him at once, hey, isn't that Egotic? It really is him. Kim Dane frowned, looking around and cursed inwardly, damn it, this wasn't in the plan. Immediately, images of him spread all over social media. In John Hai University's lecture hall, Shinharu, who was studying, received a message over the radio. Egotic has appeared in the city. Hero Stardis is preparing to deploy under the association's orders. She jumped up in panic. What? Everyone in the class turned to look, and she hurriedly packed her things. Sorry everyone, excuse me. Then she rushed out of the class. Meanwhile, Han Seo checked the tracker again, Dane, right ahead, at the intersection. Kim Dane immediately saw Kim Hak-chun staggering away, hit by the sensor. The light turned red. He risked it and jumped out to block his path. Ignore it, just go for it. Han Seo's worried voice rang in his ear. Eager to capture an A-rank criminal, Kim Dane dashed across the street without watching for traffic. A truck barreled toward him at breakneck speed. Whether he could react in time to avoid it was unclear. At that moment, while fleeing, Kim Hak-chun suddenly remembered that fateful day. Hey, Kim Hak-chun. Weren't you thrilled when you stole the money and ran? He begged helplessly, I'll pay it back, please spare me. Not convinced, the ringleader pressed a cigarette to the rope bindings, causing them to burn and sending him into the sea. In that desperate moment, he cursed, I curse you all to die. The instant his face hit the water, Kim Hak-chun suddenly vanished. When the others were about to leave, he reappeared nearby, terrifying the whole group. Kim Hak-chun was stunned to realize he was still alive, but the others immediately lunged to recapture him. After being surrounded for a while, he clenched his fists, joyfully realizing, so from now on no one can catch me anymore. Thinking that, he teleported again, letting the two sides clash with each other. Then escape. Back in the present, the truck slammed on its brakes when it spotted Kim Dane in the road, but he had already teleported into the cab, startling the driver. Seeing he was safe, Kim Hak-chun was furious, instantly teleported onto the roof of a nearby building. Observing the situation closely, teeth clenched in rage. Could it be that he kills two villains over a personal grudge? Clearly I had nothing to do with it. Below, as Kim Dane stepped out of the vehicle, he was immediately surrounded by a large crowd. Yes, I'm busy working, I can't talk much. He said quickly, then added, don't be afraid, I won't harm anyone. But that A-rank villain who can teleport, now go to hell. No sooner had the words left his mouth than a strange thought flashed through Kim Hak-chun's mind. Does he specialize in hunting villains and executing them? Just out of that line of thought, Kim Dane reappeared and continued the chase. From then on, wherever Kim Hak-chun went, Kim Dane followed close behind. Trash belongs in the bin, scummy villains must be erased from the world. Come on, today I'll clean up another piece of trash. Relentlessly pursued, Kim Hak-chun lost his composure and grabbed a nearby civilian as a hostage. Kim Dane's voice rang in his head, why can I still hear him in my ear? Kim Hak-chun threw the civilian aside and kept running. Before the girl could fall, Kim Dane had already reached out and caught her, softly asking, are you all right? His concern made the girl blush. She murmured, yes. After repeatedly using instantaneous teleportation, Kim Hak-chun had nearly exhausted all his strength, could no longer hold on and finally collapsed. He muttered in despair, why me? Once the rescued girl had rested, Egotic, Kim Dane, shifted his attention to the real target, the A-rank villain, the teleporter. Without a word, he drew his handgun and pressed it to the man's head. You have confessed your crimes. Though exhausted, Kim Hak-chun tried to argue. Egotic, Kim Dane snorted and replied, "Damn it, you're a villain too, aren't you?" "Yeah, but at least I'm not as despicable as you." Finishing, he turned to the onlookers and shouted, "Everyone, this piece of trash stole billions and murdered 4 innocent people. Those victims were someone's husband, father, friend, son. Do you want to pardon this cold-blooded killer?" Asked that, the crowd did not hesitate and answered briefly, "Finish him." "Yes, kill him." Hearing that, Kim Hak-chun trembled and struggled in despair. "Bastards, you calling for his death makes you no different from me?" Egotic heard this and smiled with satisfaction. "Hak-chun, your greatest crime is that you'll become an A-rank villain, kill hundreds, and torment Stardis countless times in the future." Snapping out of his thoughts, he turned back and growled, "You mean those two things are the same? Sorry, but it seems you'll die here." Immediately after, a painful scream rang out. Egotic looked around. What surprised him was that the civilians were not terrified but were joyful, delighted at the villain's demise. How strange. Seeing someone shot dead should make people afraid. Having finished, he stood up dazed, looking at the crowd's happy faces. Apart from superpowers, this world is no different from the old one, but moments like this made him realize he was somewhere entirely different. The people here are truly baffling. After thinking for a while, Egotic set aside that feeling, took off his hat, and smiled in greeting. "But I'm that villain, don't you fear me?" Hearing him ask, the crowd grew more cautious. At that moment, a familiar voice rang out. Egotic immediately recognized it, looked up to the sky. "Stardis, damn, I've been drawing attention for too long." Stardis quickly landed, pointed at him, and shouted, "You bastard." Egotic paid no attention and simply focused on watching the newcomer. Normally she's a somewhat cold college student, but when she becomes a hero her voice changes completely, like in an old historical tale. At the thought, the simple mode in his head automatically switched on, finding her unbearably cute. But Stardis misunderstood that demeanor. "What have you done?" No matter how infatuated he was, Egotic stayed in his villain role. "What do you mean, what did I do?" "I just dealt with a cruel A-rank villain who killed people and robbed a bank, just doing what your heroes should be doing." Hearing that, Stardis fell silent, unable to argue. Seeing her reaction, he continued, "Hey, what did I do wrong? An A-rank villain can be judged on the spot by heroes." Unable to rebut, she changed the subject. "Egotic, do you think you're a hero?" That question left Egotic momentarily stunned. "Huh? I'm the villain." At that moment he realized, there must be a bunch of people filming and cheering for Stardis, right? There are so many people here. Snapping out of the thought, he smiled and clapped as if to change the subject. "Indeed, Stardis. A villain like me punishing the wicked is against the law. But I can't accept her unshakable chivalry." He added, "Maybe I should withdraw for today." Those words set the crowd buzzing. Are villains only allowed to fight heroes? He's got a point. After all, you arrived late and couldn't beat that teleporter. Honestly, Egotic didn't do anything wrong. Those opinions left Stardis confused and sad, while Egotic felt the world growing more chaotic. Something's off. Just then, Han Seo urged in his earpiece, "Dane, stop rambling and get out of there." Pressed by the prompt and the situation, he hurriedly explained, "No, I don't mean I'm right, I'll keep doing evil, and Stardis can try to stop me." Then he regained his composure, coldly, "So, that's it for today." With that, Kim Dane used his teleportation power and vanished. With nothing left to see, the crowd dispersed, leaving Stardis still pensive. "Shall we go too?" "Yeah, let's go." Everyone left. She quietly walked over to Kim Hachun's body. With sadness, she returned to base. As soon as they arrived, Egotic had already collapsed unconscious. Han Seo quickly called out, "Subin, get up here." Lai Subin, hearing the call, rushed over in panic. "What's wrong?" Han Seo assessed the situation and explained, "It's a side effect of teleportation powers." The two women together dragged him into the room. 1, 2. Just then, Kim Dane's phone in his pocket vibrated. It turned out a post about this afternoon's event had been posted on an open forum, gauging favor between the two sides. Who likes the cool guy Egotic more than that old-fashioned Stardis? Definitely me. That evening, Stardis sat quietly on a rooftop, reading the post with undisguised sadness. She recalled the painful past when she was Shinharu, a 17-year-old schoolgirl, and an unfortunate event occurred. "No. Mom, Dad." Seeing her suffering, the triumphant robber held the stolen wallet aloft. "You should have handed it over earlier." He pulled out a handgun and threatened her. "Blame your stupid parents." But even with a gun to her head, Shinharu had nothing left to lose and showed no fear. Not seeing the reaction he expected, the robber grew bored, smiled brightly, and holstered his gun. Lucky, huh? He flicked the cigarette away and turned his back to leave, leaving the person who had just killed her parents to escape. Shinharu was unwilling to accept it, but she could only collapse helplessly and cry. If I had the power to protect Mom and Dad, no matter how much I regret it now, it would have been different. Mom, Dad, I will end that bastard. After swearing, Haru could only sit by her parents' bodies and cry herself dry. At that moment, the dark sky suddenly produced a ray of light. A shooting star fell straight into the narrow alley. The schoolgirl Shinharu, who had been crying, suddenly looked up. A blinding beam of light struck her eyes. As the light gradually faded, Haru lost consciousness, and her hair changed from black to gold. The next day, at the secret base, after resting, Kim Dane finally opened his eyes. Han Seo was already sitting by the glass, waiting for this moment to cheer. You're awake. Before he could say anything, he wearily called to the girl, say, can I get a hot meal? Suddenly, Han Seo handed him her phone, you can eat and listen. Immediately, the girl read the article on the screen, compiling the facts about A-rank villain Egotic Dane. Only the facts about A-rank villain Egotic. Han Seo read carefully, recounting countless feats of Dane, eliminating A-rank villain Lai, eliminating A-rank villain Zodiac, orchestrating and suppressing a series of special incidents at the observatory, dealing with fanatics who caused trouble, thwarting the hostage-taking terror tied to him, and even paying compensation to victims. Pausing briefly, Han Seo continued, the teleporting criminal has been on the run for years, even with a reward, authorities say capturing him is extremely difficult. Honestly, he doesn't look like a villain at all. Then she smiled and added, 7,842 likes and only 12 dislikes. What do you think? Hearing that, Dane awkwardly asked right away, so, what about Stardust? At the mention of that name, Han Seo looked sulky. Stardust? Look at the comments below. Not letting him grab the phone, she read aloud, actually Egotic is better than Stardust. Stardust hasn't done anything so far. At that, Dane nearly choked on his food. Han Seo read more. King Ego has taken down 3 A-rank villains. Regaining his composure, Dane stammered, why is Stardust being criticized? The girl thought and explained, maybe because among the 3 A-rank heroes, she acts the least. Shadow Walker or Ice have each saved dozens or hundreds by themselves, whereas Stardust hasn't done nearly as much. After reading, Han Seo hesitantly watched Dane's reaction. See, that's how people respond. Hearing those comments, Kim Dane fell into despair, unable to hide his sadness. That's the majority. It didn't stop there. Han Seo pulled out the screen to show a bouncing mango, excitedly, and Egotic even has a fan club. This news crushed Dane. He dropped to his knees clutching his head. No, impossible. A villain fan club? These crazies. Unable to accept the situation, he stood up, his mind already forming a plan. Alright, I can't leave this as is. After careful thought, Kim Dane decided to prepare for the next terror attack. Say, Subin, can you two do it? Suddenly called, the 2 girls panicked. Ugh, again? Ignoring their dismay, Dane was enthusiastic. We have to show Korea what a real villain is and who the true hero is. He murmured to himself, wait, Stardust, I'll bring you back to the top. Elsewhere, the awaited Shinharu was thoroughly enjoying a delicious mango frap smoothie. When she looked up, she saw the cherry blossoms outside in full bloom. The scene was romantic, but in her head echoed other people's remarks. Playing the great hero, huh? Finishes the job and shows up afterwards? Maybe you couldn't even catch that teleporter. Recalling those words, Haru could only sigh as countless negative thoughts swept through her mind. The public is more crazy about Egotic, the villain slayer, than about a hero who only handles things with suspended sentences. I did my best, why am I still being criticized? Not wanting to sink into negativity, Haru slapped her own cheek lightly to pull herself together. At that moment, a familiar voice rang out, Haru, why are you slapping your own face? Hearing that voice, she snapped back to attention and saw Kim Chae-hyun sitting gently beside her. Haru was moved, and her senior smiled at her, the weather is beautiful, let's rest a bit. Invited like that, Haru didn't hesitate to agree. By the way, when did the cherry blossoms bloom so fully? Kim Chae-hyun happily took out her phone. Oh right, do you want to see this? It's really popular now, but you probably don't know. She showed a picture of a bouncing mango. What do you think? Funny. It's got a lot of appeal lately. Seeing that image, Haru gritted her teeth, resentful. Even Senior Chae-hyun likes him. While scrolling, something caught her attention. What's this? Kim Chae-hyun handed the screen over. Haru, Egotic is live right now. Haru was surprised, really? As she took out her phone, the familiar voice sounded. Egotic was once again aiming his barbs at Stardust. Immediately, she rushed back to the association and deployed to the scene. No sooner had the announcement ended than Haru slammed the table and stood up. Hyun, I have an emergency, sorry, I have to go. Having said that, she dashed out of the cafe, leaving Hyun bewildered and mid-sentence. Running, Haru vowed, wait, Gostic. This time I'll definitely catch you. At the same time, on a high cliff, a familiar screen lit up and Egostic's voice echoed. Long time no see. Hello everyone, I'm the villain Egotic. After introducing himself, he eagerly watched the comments streaming across the screen. How would people react? Crazy, they treated this like a live, dramatic event. Not wasting time, Egotic lifted his phone and joked, there's been a lot of news about me lately, huh? I'm not a hero, I'm a villain, and apparently I even have a fan club. He gave a sly smile and angled the phone to show the tracks below. Perhaps people are misunderstanding? I'm the villain. He pointed to the hostages and then toward the speeding train. Ah, the train is about to enter the station. Stardis, are you watching? A comment popped up, he's still a true Stardust fan, huh? Unbothered, Egotic began to lay out the rules, turning up the pressure. The rule is simple, choose. Keep the lever to save one person instead of 5, or sacrifice one person for the many. Pulling the lever will cause someone to die. Remember, if you try to pull this person off the track, I'll derail the train. Understand? As soon as he finished stating the rules, he invited, you have only one choice, pull the lever. No sooner had he spoken than Stardis appeared, shouting angrily, you bastard, Egotic. She hurled herself down and stood on the rails. He smiled with satisfaction, you're here, Stardis. Looking at the hostages, Stardis began calculating. If she tried to save them, the passengers on the train would be in danger. How could she save them all? Seeing her hesitance, Egotic urged, come on, the Pentagon train is entering the station. What will our Stardust choose? The flood of comments only amused Egotic more. Everyone thinks Stardust will pull the lever, but I believe the Stardust I know isn't that kind of person. Just then, Lee Subin panicked and shouted into the headset, Dane, she's running toward me, what should I do? Seeing Stardust sprinting, he reassured her, we're live, so mute your broadcast mic, don't worry, she won't hurt you. After the reassurance, Subin felt more confident. Okay. Having stabilized the situation, Egotic turned the mic back on and resumed his villain act. What is Stardust doing? Don't be so reckless, you'll be torn apart. Why are you committing suicide? Viewers buzzed with speculation, but Stardust still rushed straight at the train. She summoned all her strength to stay upright, trying to encourage herself. Just hold on a little longer. Suddenly, the train accelerated. Egotic was surprised. What? Is the train going faster than usual? Realizing something was wrong, he panicked and called, Subin. Subin, wake up. But Subin had fainted and couldn't respond, leaving Egotic flustered. I didn't anticipate this. Standing at the foot of the mountain, Egotic kept up the psychological pressure. Come on, the Pentagon train is entering the station, what will Stardust choose? Though still playing the part outwardly, inwardly he only awaited the girl's decision below. What will the righteous girl do? Stardust was in intense inner turmoil. After a moment of thought, she gritted her teeth and charged straight at the train. Seeing this, Egotic was pleased, pulling his hat down low. Good, everything is going exactly to plan. Satisfied with the development, he carried a terrified struggling girl closer to the tracks. When they arrived, Egotic gently placed the pale-faced girl on the tracks and secured her with tape. Inwardly he complained, ugh, this is tiring, without Shadow Walker, doing this at night would have been easier. Preparing a daytime bombing has so many things to watch out for. Despite the complaints, he finished the final knot. With the hostage secured, Egotic instantly teleported up the cliff to watch. Looking at the 5 people tied under the tracks, he silently took pride in his handiwork. The peaceful scene before him reminded him of the original story. After this event, Stardust would be weakened but would grow stronger. If I remove the villains first, she'll lose her chance to grow. Snapping out of his thoughts, he reached down and wrote a few familiar lines on the ground. After writing, Egotic smiled smugly and told himself, consider this her special physical training ground. Back in the present, seeing Stardust throw herself at the train with all her might, Egotic was startled and shouted, wait. That's really dangerous, Stardust. The scene set the net abuzz. Reading the comments, he felt both despair and smugness inwardly. Outwardly they say it wasn't my idea, but actually it was my plan. At that moment, Stardust crashed straight into the locomotive, shattering its front. From the cliff, Egotic observed and analyzed. her muscle power and flight ability are still lacking by about 2%. Though nearly at a rank, stopping this train is beyond her capability. However, Egotic knew something others hadn't noticed. When facing danger, Stardis's powers would erupt dramatically. Even as Stardis was being pushed back, he remained confident. She can definitely stop this. With that fierce conviction, the train's engine began to make unusual noises. However, the train didn't slow down, it sped up. This unsettled Egotic. Why is the train getting even faster? He hurriedly called for backup, but Lai Subin had long since fainted. Subin, Miss Subin, wake up. Receiving no response, Egotic fell into panic. I didn't account for this. The worst-case scenarios flashed through his mind like a film. If the people tied to the tracks died horribly, Stardis's image as a brave superhero would be destroyed. Just thinking that, Egotic tore at his hair and clutched his head. What should I do? At the same time, the train drew close to the doomed girl's position. Recognizing the emergency, Stardis gritted her teeth and exerted strength beyond her normal limits to stop the train. Although the front of the train was shattered, it did not slow. Standing above, Egotic could only plead inwardly, please stop. As the distance between the train and the hostage narrowed, he could only pray. Then he witnessed a miracle. After so much effort, the train was finally stopped by Stardis, and the whole process was captured on camera. Seeing the unbelievable scene, Egotic was overjoyed. She stopped it. The danger is temporarily over. Amid the chaos, he brimmed with anticipation. Come on, show yourself. Stardis, will she be okay? That train was so fast. Staring at the live phone screen, Egotic worried. Could she be dead? But at that moment, Stardis's familiar figure appeared. Seeing the girl he longed for safe and sound, he couldn't hide his excitement. After cheering for a moment, remembering he was still the villain, Egotic composed himself. Oh right, she stopped it. Did she really hold on? This isn't how my plan was supposed to go. Turning his gaze to the dazed Stardis, Egotic thought to himself. She found her own way to resolve the dilemma. That assertion set the live comments ablaze. Reading each one, his face lit with excitement. Yes, that's the right reaction. See, filled with pride, he praised Stardis without restraint. This is the hero Stardis. Watch her power erupt purely from the desire to save others. After exerting all her strength, Stardis finally collapsed. Seeing this, Egotic's eyes filled with worry. No longer caring about his image, he jumped down to check on her. Approaching, he heard Stardis softly scold. You bastard. Though tired, she still focused her gaze on him. Egotic gently comforted her. It's okay, Stardis, you did very well. In a way I never imagined. This is your victory. After speaking, he brushed her brow so she could rest, then instructed, I'm leaving now, rest well. Another hero will arrive to help you soon. To let Stardis rest, Egotic rose, removed his hat and showed a sign of mourning. Yes, my little act of terrorism ends here. Thank you for watching. After he spoke, the livestream screen went black. A shocking comment appeared. Those two, what's with that ambiguous atmosphere? The next morning, at the secret base, Han Seo burst with energy running around calling, wake up, you sleeping late Kim Dane and Lai Subin. After yesterday's incident, both of them were exhausted. Oh my god, I'm dead. Good morning. Their looks made Han Seo just shake her head. It was only one terror incident and everyone looks so drained. Not scolding them, the girl pointed at the fully laid table and invited, come on, look at these hot dishes. The two of them's eyes lit up. Seo, did you prepare these? Dane ruffled Han Seo's hair in praise. Thank you. The girl bashfully gave his waist a light pinch. Lai Subin also took the chance to urge, hurry up and eat before it gets cold. The three of them sat down at the table, and happily enjoyed breakfast. While everyone focused on eating, Han Seo noticed the remote nearby, grabbed it and ran to the sofa to watch TV. Let's see how yesterday's deeds made the news. The next news segment played. Dane ate with obvious satisfaction. His villain image had completely changed. Of course, Stardis also became famous, a two-bird one-stone outcome. Just then, Han Seo burst into a mysterious laugh. What is it? She pointed at the screen, eyes shining. They're saying you two are dating. The commentator's remarks rang out. This is about A-rank hero Stardis stopping the train yesterday. First, please take a look at this photo. The moment Kim Dane brushed Stardis's brow to let her rest appeared. The commentator continued, look here, between the villain and the hero they might as well be lovers. Elsewhere, Shin Haru, Stardis, watched the report, unable to contain her anger, and crushed the glass in her hand. Kim Dane, seeing that on TV, was also frightened. What the hell is this? The host continued, in Korea right now, the most popular villain is Egotic, and the rising rookie is the superhero Stardis. The dating rumors between them are really hot. Reporter Park was asked for his take. Pointing at the screen, he said, "Look here, do you recognize it?" "Ah yes, this is a line bearing the name Stardis." Reporter Park slammed the table and exclaimed, "Wrong. It's not just a line, it's a message to Stardis. This is a gift he gave her, that's the meaning." Then the screen showed the scene of Kim Dane kneeling on one knee beside the unconscious Shinharu, saying, "Alright, Stardis, you did very well in a way I never imagined. This is your victory." Pointing at that scene, Reporter Park asserted, "Look closely, if this isn't love, then what is it?" When Egotic spoke his last words and closed Stardis's eyes, she quietly fell asleep. He continued to emphasize, "If those two aren't dating, then what do you call this?" Elsewhere, Shinharu sat alone in the study room, silently watching the commentary, emotions welling up. Haru sat dazed, chin propped on her hand, mood gloomy, wondering, are people even sane? Who would spread dating rumors about that crazy villain? There's absolutely no way that's true. She thought quietly for a while and then asked herself, why is this happening? Clearly in her heart there was only hatred and loathing for that man, yet along that line a confusing feeling had crept in. Just as Haru sat gloomily mumbling, Kim Chae-hyun approached. With a sympathetic expression, "Haru, your spirit seems drained by all the studies." Saying that, Chae-hyun took out an ice cream flyer and smiled, coaxing, "Let me heal you today, okay?" Chae-hyun tossed the flyer aside, eyes sparkling with emotion. "Trust me today, let's go out and have fun." Elsewhere, in the three-person house, the whining never stopped. Han Seo-yu writhed on the floor, throwing a tantrum and shouting, "Please, please, I really want to go." Lee Subin shook her head in exasperation. "Seo-yu, don't whine like that." But Han Seo-yu wouldn't stop. "We've already done 2 terror incidents, so now I want to go play." At that moment, Kim Dane spoke up, "Miss Subin, Seo-yu, how about we all go out today?" At that, Han Seo-yu sprang up. She stopped whining and screamed with joy in celebration. Lee Subin also smiled. Kim Dane held the ice cream festival flyer, the same one Kim Chae-hyun had, thinking to himself, "This isn't in the original story, but I guess it's fine." Over with Haru, her mood gradually improved, and she even looked forward to the upcoming ice cream festival. The ice cream festival was crowded, the scene full of life. Kim Dane marveled, "Wow, even a weekday noon is pretty packed." Han Seo-yu held her cone beside him and asked confusedly, "Hey, why are you wearing black again?" Kim Dane laughed, "Seo-yu, men have to wear black." Han Seo-yu snorted, "You're talking nonsense." Kim Dane was surprised, thinking, "She's smiling so brightly today. She even called me on, she must really be happy." Suddenly Han Seo-yu shouted, pointing ahead, "Oh, rice flour ice cream." With that, she excitedly ran to the ice cream counter. Kim Dane smiled at Lee Subin. "Going out was definitely worth it, right?" Subin replied cheerfully, "Yeah, she looks really happy." She also activated her perception dampening filter, which only she could feel. When recruited by Kim Dane, she had appeared publicly once already. Kim Dane tasted a spoonful of ice cream and exclaimed in surprise, "Oh, that's really good." He scooped another spoonful and offered it to Subin. "Subin, try some too." Lee Subin blushed, shyly eyeing the spoon Kim Dane held out. Han Seo-yu stood nearby, curious, "What's wrong, sis? Eat it already." Subin flustered, wait a moment." She shyly opened her mouth and moved closer to the spoon, thinking, "Isn't this an indirect kiss?" Finally, Subin tried it. Her face full of enjoyment, "It's really good." After finishing her cone, Han Seo-yu happily ran to another stall. "Look, mango ice cream." Kim Dane called after her in a hurry, "Hey, wait for me." Han Seo-yu stared at the ice cream behind the glass with bright eyes and eagerly told the staff, "Give me a cone, please." The staff scooped the ice cream and laughed, turning to Kim Dane, "Oh my, this kid looks exactly like her parents, so cute." Kim Dane was left speechless and could only force a smile. Yeah." Lee Subin stood beside him, face flushed. Han Seo-yu turned back, grinning, and teased in a low voice, "You look older than your age, you know." Kim Dane retorted, "On the contrary, it's because of your height, not me." Han Seo-yu had no comeback and huffed. The staff handed out the ice cream. "Here's the kid's cone, 1 cone and 2 cups." The three received their ice cream, and Kim Dane asked Han Seo-yu with a smile, "You ordered for us too?" She answered, "You're the leader of the Pentagon Club, so of course you have to get mango flavor." Kim Dane was taken aback by this new identity, the Pentagon Club. Seeing the vendor smile, he didn't know where to hide his face, only answering awkwardly, it's nothing. Suddenly, Kim Dane's eyes widened when he saw the vendor showing off a shirt printed with his image as Egotic. The vendor smiled brightly. I made it myself, looks good, right? Kim Dane didn't know how to reply. Han Seo-yu generously gave a thumbs up, totally cinematic. After a while, the three sat on a bench, eating ice cream and relaxing. Suddenly Kim Dane spotted the dart-throwing stall. He asked Han Seo-yu, Seo, I used to be a master at darts, did you know? Let me show you my skills. Han Seo-yu doubted him. Hey, are you going to cheat with remote control powers or what? Kim Dane stiffened and could only smile wryly. The staff at the dart stall explained, there's an event. If you hit the target 10 times, you win a tiered ice cream. Han Seo-yu preferred the second prize instead, that stuffed bear is cuter. Kim Dane asked, but you can freely choose the first prize, right? The staff nodded, yes, you can choose freely. Kim Dane confidently promised, listen up, I'll get that stuffed bear for you. He pretended to concentrate and, in a discreet moment, silently used his power. Just then, Kim Chae-hyun also came to the dart stall and asked the attendant, how much per try? Her arrival caught Kim Dane's attention. He thought, she looks familiar. A few seconds later, he suddenly realized, Kim Chae-hyun, Xin Haru's senior from university. Kim Chae-hyun exclaimed, wow, Haru, the prize even includes 10-tier ice cream. Another female voice rang out, let me try to get one for you. It was Han Seo-yu. Seeing Kim Dane standing there dazed, she asked, what are you doing? Throw it already. At that moment, Lubin and Han Seo-yu also noticed Xin Haru's appearance. The trio broke into a cold sweat, none of them dared to make a sound. Xin Haru glanced over, her gaze landing on Kim Dane. He was still standing there in a daze, poised to throw the dart. Kim Chae-hyun smiled radiantly, pointing ahead, Haru, there's rice flour ice cream over there. The two of them went to the ice cream shop together. Kim Chae-hyun delightedly savored the flavor, exclaiming, this is so delicious. In a cheerful mood, she turned to Xin Haru, Haru, try this. Xin Haru leaned forward and gently tasted it. Her cheeks flushed, eyes shining, delicious. Kim Chae-hyun held the ice cream cup and smiled contentedly, finally your expression has relaxed. Haru seemed drawn to something. Kim Chae-hyun took Xin Haru's hand, full of emotion, let's go, the stall over there has Haru's favorite flavor. She pointed to the food counter, emphasizing, it's mango flavor, hurry and eat. At the sight of the mango ice cream, Xin Haru's eyes sparkled with extreme delight. But not long after, her mood turned gloomy and she lowered her head. The vendor proudly turned his back to reveal the print of himself on the shirt and cheerfully said, I made it myself. Kim Chae-hyun approvingly praised, oh my, so cute. The two girls rested under a cherry blossom tree, enjoying the cool breeze. Kim Chae-hyun stretched and said comfortably, this is great. She turned to Xin Haru, you like it too, right, Haru? From sadness, Xin Haru broke into a bright smile, of course, sis. She closed her eyes, and enjoyed the peaceful moment as cherry blossoms drifted down. Kim Chae-hyun pointed at the food stall in front of them, Haru, finish this and then let's try that one. Xin Haru watched her intently, seeing her excitement, she replied, darts? That sounds fun. Colorful balloons were decorating the stall's roof. A friendly attendant handed over the darts and announced, there's an event, hit the target 10 times and you win a 10-tier ice cream. Xin Haru gently replied, yes, please. Her blue eyes glanced at the trio who were sweating nervously, and she thought to herself, they look like a young couple, but why is the girl's hair silver? Maybe she's their granddaughter. She stared at Kim Dane for a long moment, a vague sense of familiarity welling up inside her. Before she could think further, Kim Chae-hyun cheered, Haru, you try. Xin Haru quickly agreed, oh, yes. She threw the dart, a brilliant orange streak flashed through, and Kim Chae-hyun joyfully cried, it hit the target. Kim Dane watched the scene, sweating profusely, thinking about Stardust's extraordinary power and growing increasingly attentive to her. Continuing like that, Xin Haru kept hitting the darts, demonstrating superior physical ability. Cheers rose non-stop, 2 hits already. Kim Dane bowed his head, a little disappointed, thinking her power could erupt even more in the future. Xin Haru happily continued throwing darts, her senses sharply honed. This made her quickly realize that if she revealed her identity here, the image of Shin Haru as a superhero would pop into Kim Dane's head, and he might lock her up in prison. Afterwards, Xin Haru and Kim Chae-hyun hugged each other in delight, making Kim Dane fall backwards. One of Xian Haru's darts sped forward and popped a balloon. Kim Chae-hyun praised, "Haru, you're amazing, you hit so many." Xian Haru modestly replied, "It's nothing, just a small thing." The attendant happily handed the two girls the 10-tier ice cream. "Here comes the 10-tier ice cream." The attendant turned to Kim Dane. "Hey, aren't you throwing, sir?" He answered dazedly, "There was someone so good next to me that I was watching. I'll throw now." Kim Dane looked at Han Seo-yu and forced a smile. "Seo-yu, look, I'll show you my dart technique." The girl cheered and doubted at once. "Hurry up." Kim Dane took 10 darts, nervous, thinking he wouldn't need to use his power, that he'd throw a few casually and slip away. But he threw all 10 in a row and hit balloons with every shot, leaving everyone stunned, mouths agape. Kim Chae-hyun held the 10-tier ice cream stick and looked at him in surprise. This customer is really skilled. The attendant brought out a stuffed bear. "You want the bear instead, right? Here, the bear is ready." But Kim Dane chose to retreat quickly. The attendant raised a hand to stop them. "Hey, wait." The three hurriedly ran off, laughing awkwardly. "It's okay, we're leaving." Han Seo-yu chimed in, "Yeah, let's go." Kim Chae-hyun held the 10-tier ice cream with a bright smile. "We'll bring it over to Haru." Xian Haru, holding the stuffed bear, turned and said, "Yes." But halfway there, the ice cream was too tall, it toppled, and all the tiers of ice cream fell off the sticks. The colorful tiers of ice cream tumbled toward Kim Dane. He panicked, thinking that if even a bit stuck to him he'd become like benzene. Eyes wide, mouth agape, he was determined to avoid it at all costs. Kim Dane's mind raced, he darted aside to avoid the splatter and then tumbled to the ground. Everyone rushed over in alarm. Han Seo-yu cried out worriedly, "Sir." Xian Haru looked distressed, mouth open as she asked, "Are you okay?" Kim Chae-hyun also worriedly covered her mouth as she watched him. Kim Dane hurried to reassure them, I'm fine, really, no need to worry." He slowly stood up, rubbing his neck with an embarrassed smile. "I just overreacted a bit, just dodged it. Come on, let's move on." Lubin watched with some annoyance and urged, "What are you thinking? Please hurry up, if this continues, we're all doomed." Sweat beading on Kim Dane's face, he was about to speak when a grim black smoke rolled in from behind. "Move now." Jean Haru and Kim Dane turned to look. They discovered the sky had turned red, the black-gray smoke sending citizens into a panicked scatter. The sharp fangs of a green-furred crocodile appeared. It puffed itself up big and roared, "Stardust! Stardust! Come out." A system notice displayed, "Crocodin, villain, Class A." Kim Dane immediately pulled Han Seo-yu and Lubin close, making Lubin a bit embarrassed. "You two stay right here." With sharp eyes, Kim Dane calculated, according to the original script this guy shouldn't appear yet, why is he active now? Xian Haru also assessed the situation and lunged toward Kim Chae-hyun unexpectedly. Pain flared up, Kim Dane gritted his teeth, running back to the guild to grab the cognition filter is too rushed now. He remembered that, in the original story, if Stardust's face was revealed, it marked the start of misfortune and decline. An image of a blonde woman covering her face flashed before him. He resolved, "I won't let that happen, even if the sky falls." Kim Dane shouted, and violet beams of light enveloped his body. The light grew stronger and stronger. His everyday clothes fell away. They were replaced by a tailored suit and a stylish hat. He said, "I'll pack up my things later." Han Seo-yu stood behind, puzzled. "What are you going to do?" Shortly after, Kim Dane ordered Han Seo-yu to help broadcast for him. Han Seo-yu, clutching the stuffed bear, mumbled, "Mr. Dane." The crocodile rampaged, tearing things apart as it bellowed, "Stardust! If you don't show up, I'll smash everything." Its eyes shone brilliantly as the broadcast echoed, "Hello, dear listeners." The black speakers projected the sound far and wide. Kim Dane took the microphone, flashed a toothy smile, and declared, "The true villain of this era. The common enemy of the Republic of Korea, Egotic." His voice rang everywhere. "How dare you trespass on my territory, you little crocodile." The crocodile snapped angrily, "What?" Online forums erupted with chatter, "Egotic, Gostic. He's appeared again." One user exclaimed, "Oh my, it's him again." Another commented, "He claims to be the common enemy." Someone else wondered, "Wasn't he a hero before? I don't get it." Everyone buzzed with excitement. Someone even joked, "Feels like an electric music festival." Kim Dane's cold face appeared. He glanced down and murmured, "Now you will die here." In a large corporate building, 3 years earlier, in the association's lecture hall, a middle-aged man stood before the trainees, pointing at the modern machine, what we call the cognition-reducing filter, or simply the filter. He explained, When you pass through this device, a filter is applied to the face that causes viewers to have disrupted recognition. But if the face is revealed to someone who already knows it, the filter won't work. Do you all understand? Everyone answered in unison, yes. He then sternly emphasized, even an idiot knows how dangerous it is for a hero to reveal their face. Your career and life can be ruined. Remember that well. Xin Haru, sitting below at the time, resolutely shouted, yes. Back in the present, the street lay in ruins, shrouded in smoke and dust. Kim Chae-hyun and Shin Haru hid by the roadside. Haru worriedly thought, it's too late to go back to headquarters for the filter. What should we do? Jean Haru clenched her fists, looking at the panicking crowd, thinking, in this situation, am I a hero only to run away? She undid her hair tie, and her golden hair fluttered, determination in her eyes as she clenched her fists and stepped forward. No. Kim Chae-hyun cried out in alarm, Haru. A crowd staring at their phones shouted, Egotic. Egotic is here. Xin Haru heard it and blinked in confusion. What? She murmured, the true villain of this era, the common enemy of the Republic of Korea, Egotic. At that moment, Kim Dane stood on the building rooftop beside two giant speakers blasting music. Below was the green crocodile monster. He shouted, how dare you trespass on my territory, you little crocodile. The crocodile exclaimed in surprise, what? Kim Dane smiled coldly and pointed at the crocodile, now you will die here. He held the mic and told himself, no, absolutely must not let Stardust's face be revealed. He yelled into the crocodile's face, do you know that? You crocodile. The monster shouted back, confronting Kim Dane, bastard. You act like you're close to Stardust, aren't you Egotic? Suddenly, the crocodile leapt and lunged toward Kim Dane at high speed. He said, hey, why keep dragging Stardust into this? Online comments displayed, a Stardust fanatic is here. Hey little crocodile. The crocodile charged at Kim Dane angrily, roaring, I'll kill you. It quickly latched onto the building wall and used its strength to climb up to the rooftop where Kim Dane stood. Once it reached the top, it snarled fiercely and yelled, come here and face me. Seeing this, Kim Dane used a teleportation technique to move back and evade. The crocodile continued to rush forward, but Kim Dane teleported and appeared right above it, gleefully saying, what are you doing, you punk? You know my name but didn't know I can teleport? Taken by surprise, the crocodile flailed its limbs trying to strike Kim Dane, but each attempt missed because he kept teleporting around it. It angrily bellowed, you damn mosquito bat, fight me one-on-one properly. Kim Dane calmly replied, hey, I'm a villain. In the comments below, everyone laughed, a villain who has to insist he's a villain. Seeing that comment, Kim Dane looked puzzled. Comments continued, but why did Egotic run over here? Kim Dane thought to himself, wait, I need to explain, or people will assume I came because of Stardust. Suddenly he stopped and shouted at the crocodile, wait, hear me out. The crocodile answered, alright, speak quickly. Kim Dane demanded, but first, I have to ask this, why did you attack me? The crocodile replied without hesitation, of course. I targeted Stardust, and you clearly care about Stardust, therefore you're my enemy. Hearing that, Kim Dane froze, thinking, what the hell? What kind of logic is this? The comments buzzed again, that stupid villain also knows Egotic like Stardust. He might not know the guy can teleport, just that he likes Stardust. Two guys fighting over one girl. Is Egotic here to replace Stardust or what? Suddenly the crocodile pointed at Kim Dane and shouted, also, you were the one who said you'd kill me first. Kim Dane froze, when did I say that? The crocodile grew angrier, its energy flaring like fire. You said you dared to trespass on my territory, you little crocodile. You threatened to kill me right here. That's what you said, isn't it? Kim Dane hurriedly protested. I didn't say that. Comments popped up again. Why is the crocodile suddenly talking sweetly? What kind of threat is that? At that moment, as if pushed past its limit, the crocodile screamed wildly, I'm really going berserk. It opened its jaws wide, and a blazing red fireball began to form. Kim Dane saw this and panicked, thinking, isn't that an ultimate skill? Before he could finish his thought, a huge blaze shot from the crocodile's mouth, incinerating everything ahead. Crocodin unleashed his ultimate skill, breathing an intense fire. Fortunately, Kim Dane teleported in time and avoided the fatal blow. He reappeared behind the crocodile, panting in shock, one hit and I'm done. The crocodile turned and sneered, surprised, Egotic? Without hesitation, Kim Dane whipped out a black cloth. Instantly countless guns emerged from it and hurled toward the crocodile. With cold eyes he clenched his fist, see you in hell, bastard. All the guns opened fire at the crocodile simultaneously. After a barrage of shots, smoke and dust filled the air as Kim Dane ascended to survey. Did we take him out yet? Comments erupted. Wait, did that many bullets and the crocodile still survive? At that moment, the crocodile lunged out of the smoke, roaring, "You think a few bullets did anything to my body?" Suddenly, Kim Dane's mask fell off right in front of the live stream screen. He quickly teleported away from the phone, pulled out a gas mask, and stood high above looking down. "No, I did that to make you let your guard down." Immediately after, Kim Dane threw an unidentified object at the crocodile. The crocodile scornfully opened its mouth and swallowed it, shouting, "You damn mosquito bat." Instantly, a powerful beam of light shot from the crocodile's mouth. Its body convulsed with electric shocks, writhing in pain as golden sparks flashed around it. "Hey, in the original story Stardust suffered from your thick hide. Did you think I didn't know? Thought I wasn't prepared?" After the attack, the crocodile lay covered in blood all over its body, stunned, then collapsed completely unconscious. Comments kept appearing. Bring Egotic, request the association to appoint Egotic as a hero immediately. And he still calls himself a villain. At this point, the depleted guns clattered to the ground. Kim Dane slowly descended back onto the rooftop. He gathered the guns, looking exhausted and trembling. He looked up at the sky and groaned, "Damn, that took too much energy. Trying to look cool and now I'm drained, my hands are shaking just holding this phone." Suddenly remembering the phone was still live streaming, Kim Dane glanced at the comments and read, "So you came here to take down a villain?" Kim Dane flustered, explaining like a madman. Right. No, everyone, I came here because I hate that crocodile. Don't think I acted for Stardust or for the public good." Comments showed, everything he says is true. Suddenly, a shaft of golden light flew in from nowhere and landed on the rooftop where Kim Dane stood. It turned out to be Shinharu. She slowly rose after a spectacular landing, approached Kim Dane and asked, "Did you take that guy down?" Kim Dane replied calmly, "Yeah, he was blocking the way so I dealt with him." Hearing that, Shinharu became suspicious. She gave Kim Dane a cold look and said, "Why?" Kim Dane shrugged and answered nonchalantly, "What do you mean?" "He kept shouting that me and Stardust were all cozy and ambiguous together, so it annoyed me." Shinharu startled, "What?" Kim Dane put on his earphones, looked at Shinharu, and smiled as he continued, Stardust, next time something like today happens, don't think you can just reveal your face and show off. Once your face is revealed, your life will be very hard." Shinharu blinked in surprise at Kim Dane. He then turned to the phone and said, "All right, that's it for today's broadcast. That was unexpected and exhausting. There's a big event next month, so tune in." Comments displayed, "What were they saying on the stream that they cut the mic?" Immediately after, Kim Dane vanished in a flash of light, saying, "Goodbye." Seeing that, Shinharu reached out, "Wait," her expression slightly saddened. At that moment Kim Dane had teleported home. Suddenly blood gushed from his mouth. Kim Dane's face was expressionless, looking soulless. Hansel and Subin, seeing this, panicked and ran over with worried faces, shouting, "Hey! Dane!" Kim Dane had collapsed to the ground. On the rooftop, Shinharu picked up Kim Dane's mask. She inspected it and wondered, how did he know my thoughts? Who is he, really? Shinharu sat at her computer watching the news. On the screen were two hot headlines from KBS News. Exclusive, Festival Chaos. A-rank villain Crocodin has been captured and subdued by Egotic, then transferred to the Eastern Heroes detention. The building was destroyed by the crocodile 4 hours ago. Egotic was faster than everyone. Is A-rank villain Egotic really a villain or something else? Searching Egotic returned about 2030 results in 0.45 seconds. An official fan club, Egotic Mango Stick, Mang Stick Association, Hero Portal. One comment, is Mang Stick a god? Another, lately Manglestick seems better than these heroes. Before praise could go on, the commenter was banned for a month for supporting a villain. Why doesn't everyone do it anymore? Shinharu held her head in exasperation. Then she suddenly saw a comment. What did the hero do today? Lately Mango Stick goes out on the streets and the fandom just blindly cheers. If Korea keeps going like this. Below it was a comment with Dane's humorous icon. Great, isn't it? Shinharu exclaimed, damn it. She lay down on the bed, closed her eyes, and thought she was the only one who didn't like Egotic. She remembered the ice cream seller proudly showing off his Mang Association shirt. I made it myself. Chae-hun beside him also praised, oh, so cute. Then she recalled Kim Dane admonishing her. Stardust, next time something happens, don't just reveal your face and show off. Xin Haru agonized over that remark. Could everyone be right and I'm the only one who's wrong? Meanwhile, Subin and Seo Wu stood in front of a glass enclosure. Inside it lay Dane. Seo Wu remained furious at that Stardust woman. A sudden noise made the girl freeze. Kim Dane opened his eyes, tapped on the glass and asked, "Why is everyone crying?" The two of them looked at him with concern. Seo Wu immediately rushed over and hugged him, sobbing loudly. Seeing this, Kim Dane reassured her, "It's okay, it's okay." Eventually he recovered and had dinner with everyone. He couldn't believe he had been unconscious for 3 days. Looking back, it was from overusing his teleport ability and sustaining his body with psychokinetic force. He was truly exhausted. Seo Wu spoke up, "From now on you have to take proper care of your body, okay?" Kim Dane hurriedly promised, "All right, I will." He looked at the girl happily, thinking, after all, this kid actually cried for him. Acting with her seemed to have worked. Meanwhile, Subin said anxiously, "You're out and about. Why did you run off in such a hurry? People thought you were a hero gone missing." Seo Wu agreed and challenged him, "Yeah, it's completely incomprehensible. You keep saying you're a villain this, villain that." Kim Dane replied calmly, "If I hadn't acted, Stardust would have." The girl still didn't understand, "So what?" Kim Dane explained, making Seo Wu pause, "It's dangerous. If that situation happens when a hero's identity is revealed, their personal information will be fully exposed. What then? Grudging villains or other evildoers will track down and eliminate the hero." Seo Wu still didn't see the importance. "How does that concern me?" Kim Dane patiently, "Seo Wu, the world we live in is an off-kilter system. The imbalance between good and evil. Most so-called heroes don't take the hero's path, they choose the villain's route. Rewards for extermination efforts are too small, and they're constantly harassed, so instead of struggling as heroes, many choose to be villains to live easier." He concluded, "Just in South Korea, A-rank heroes are only Stardust, Ice, and Shadow Walker, 3 people total. But A-rank villains are everywhere, aren't they?" After hearing this, Seo Wu could only sigh. "That's why you plan to go eliminate villains on their behalf." "What? A dark hero indeed, but how does that relate to us?" Kim Dane scratched his head, tongue-tied. "Not that far, it's just that I'm a bit concerned about Korea's fate." The scene shifted to an airplane flying in the sky. Everyone on the flight was relaxed, unaware of what was about to happen. Suddenly the plane lost power, and passengers were left bewildered. One passenger joked, "Look, with the lights off the sky looks clearer, it's like a vacation vibe." The screens on the plane suddenly lit up, displaying the words "The Ego." A voice echoed through the cabin, "Everyone, we're very happy to see you again. This is the greatest quiz in the sky, at 25,000 feet. No, call it the greatest aerial quiz game. Welcome to the Ego Show." An angry passenger shouted, "Flight attendant, what's going on?" Kim Dane continued the announcement, "Oh right, of course the plane you're on already has bombs attached." A bomb appeared on the screen. Passengers panicked and screamed. Kim Dane grinned slyly, "Now, let the game begin." The scene shifted to the hero's headquarters. Xin Haru rushed into the room and asked, "How long has it been since the incident occurred?" The association president trembled as he answered, "Even if you go, you might not be able to do anything in time." The remark made her furious. She slammed the table. "Is that the association president's statement? I have to go immediately." He turned and said, "Did I say not to go? Daytime operations are really difficult." Suddenly, someone entered. Xin Haru beamed and cried out, "Kim Chae-hun." The newcomer was Kim Chae-hun, A-rank hero Shadow Walker, King of the Night. He told the association president, "Hurry to the airport, then go home and sleep. This kind of fight is too much for me." He warned, "Don't overexert yourselves, we can't save everyone." Shadow Walker activated his power, and Xin Haru replied, "I'll remember that." As she stepped closer to Shadow Walker, the two were enveloped by a stream of dark energy. They were instantly teleported to the scene of the incident. Xin Haru hurried off, not forgetting to thank him, "Thanks for your help." On the other side, Shadow Walker clutched his mouth and collapsed on the stairs, nearly fainting. Xin Haru dashed outside. She looked up at the sky in horror. Her legs suddenly froze. Her face showed despair. "How can we stop this?" Before her was a plane burning in midair. Cut to 1 year earlier. At a building, villains gathered, all facing the figure seated above. He said, "The day we place all of Seoul, all of the Republic of Korea under our heel is not far off." He was 1000, a rank 5 villain, laughing with glee. Suddenly a voice rang out, "HM, but I think differently. Who are they wary of? Shadow Walker appeared in the corner of the room and answered, the hero. The rookie A-rank hero Shadow Walker, king of the night, crossed his arms and coolly said, you evildoers. A villain named Nuzan stepped forward, posturing. Hey kid, do you know whose territory this is? A henchman asked, how did he get in here? Shadow Walker fell silent, his gaze fierce. Nidal Thousand rushed forward and threw a punch, shouting, this is my territory, Nidal thus. A surge of power shot towards Shadow Walker, but he remained still. The punch stopped when it struck Shadow Walker, leaving Nidal thus incredulous. He and his henchmen looked around in astonishment, not understanding where they had gone. Suddenly, the shadow beneath his feet rose up. It swallowed him into another dimension. The remaining henchmen quickly met the same fate. Nidal thus immediately surrounded himself with power, cautious, don't be reckless, he's not ordinary. Shadow Walker's night power crept onto his shoulders. Shadow Walker appeared behind him, but Nidal thus had some skill too, unleashing quill-like power from his back towards Shadow Walker. He smugly turned and said, this brat dares to point his claws at me. However, as he turned, Shadow Walker had vanished from his sight, which sent Nidal thus into panic. Suddenly, with blood-red eyes, Shadow Walker appeared behind and asked, hey Porcupine, earlier you said this was your territory, right? He reached out, gray power surging. Sorry, this place has become my territory now. A dark hand rose from the shadow, engulfing Nidal Thousand into another dimension. Recalling that scene, Shadow Walker lay sprawled on the stairs, panting, muttering, I'm probably dead. All this time, Kim Dane had been monitoring the exchange between Xi and Haru and the King of Night. He thought to himself, alright, the protagonist has stepped onto the stage. He grinned slyly and spoke into the mic, now, let's move on to the final dramatic quiz. Let's begin. Everyone on the plane clutched their phones, praying in desperation. A man broke into a sweat, his eyes vacant. His memory flashed back to 30 minutes earlier, when everyone was still panicked and frightened. Suddenly, a piercing sound rang out, and an image of Kim Dane appeared on the screens. Everyone held their breath, not daring to make a sound. At that moment he said, now, before the game begins, I'll announce the rules. Please turn on your phones and disable airplane mode. Immediately after, a message was sent to everyone simultaneously. The Ego Psi, meaningless quiz. There are 10 questions in total. If any one person answers all questions correctly, the bomb will be disarmed. But if no one answers a single question correctly, everyone will be wiped out. Send your answers to this number. Ready? Okay. Kim Dane continued to emphasize, from now on, silence, no cheating, no discussion. Clear. Any sound and you're immediately eliminated. Question number 1 appeared, how many people could a Titanic lifeboat hold? 59 seconds countdown. A woman tried to glance at the answer beside her and was immediately announced by Kim Dane, the girl who just cheated is eliminated. She screamed in panic. Kim Dane pressed on, you made a sound, right? You're eliminated. Then the man next to you who answered for you is eliminated too. Live stream viewers commented excitedly, this is truly a quiz game hell. Some wondered, who said Mangle Stick is a hero? Scary. When the timer hit 0, Kim Dane announced, too easy, right? The answer to question 1 is 9 people. Why? He slapped his thigh and laughed gleefully, because it's, save yourself. Silence fell. He smugly asked, enjoying it? On the big screen a seating chart of everyone appeared. Kim Dane reported, more than half have been eliminated already. This is only the beginning and it's already this chaotic? You should be more tense. Now, come on, next question. As time passed, the number of eliminated people kept rising. Those who passed the question breathed a sigh of relief, while the others clasped their hands in prayer. In the end, only a single person remained for the final question. Kim Dane said, well? Feeling the peak of tension, he looked at the screen, saw Xi and Haru approaching, and thought inwardly, good. Then he extended the time, saying, since it's the final round, let's do a little interview, see how you feel. Everyone's lives hung on a single word. Mr. Kim Dokbae from Bang Bae Dong, you're the last remaining person, how do you feel? The man named panicked, that's truly a responsibility. Kim Dane teased, why like that? I told you, what happens if you make a sound? Everyone was in utter confusion, but Kim Dane went on, oh well, since it's the last question, a small mistake like this can be forgiven, right? Isn't that so, everyone? But I don't like that, cough cough. After he finished speaking, that man was eliminated too. The plane shook violently, people screamed in panic. The plane caught fire and plunged into the sea. Kim Dane grinned triumphantly, now, this performance is ready. It's time for the hero to appear, Stardust. But Xian Haru was horrified at the sight. Despair showed on her face. She didn't know how to save everyone. She looked up at the object exploding in midair and sighed deeply. What do I do now? The association president on the other end replied curtly, what more can be done? Give up, I'm busy drafting a statement to respond to criticism. Damn it, the president's phone is ringing about this, I have to hang up. Xian Haru clenched her fist in anger. Then, helpless, she collapsed. She thought, I thought I had stopped a train going 100 kilometers per hour, so my current power still isn't enough? Damn it. What am I supposed to do? Suddenly, Jean Haru seemed to recall some memory from the past. In that desperate moment, the girl was powerless, tears streaming as she grieved the loss of loved ones. Mother, father, I will kill him no matter what. That girl once held a relative's corpse in a dark alley and struck the ground, cracking it with her fist. She gritted her teeth in rage, blaming herself. Then it was the same, now it's the same, I couldn't save anyone. Suddenly, a connection signal came through her earpiece. To her surprise, a voice spoke from the other end of the line. Hello, Miss Stardust, this is Egotic. Elsewhere, Kim Dane stretched and yawned. This terrorist attack is controlled remotely, so it seems easier to handle. Hansel Yu was typing when he suddenly called out tensely, Hey, Kim Den, take a look. Hansel Yu turned and pointed at the screen, smiling. That Stardust? No, Miss Stardust is frozen on the ground over there. Kim Dane's eyes widened in surprise, then he suddenly jumped up and yelled, startling Hansel Yu. What's wrong? Stardust. The image on the screen showed Shin Haru intently listening with her earpiece. Kim Dane immediately asked the girl, Cell, can you connect to the in-ear headset that Stardust is wearing? Hansel Yu quickly typed on the keyboard and said, connected, but why are you rushing? Kim Dane replied, there's no time, hurry up. Back with Shin Haru, she was stunned to hear through the earpiece, Hello, Miss Stardust, this is Egotic. She immediately exploded in anger, shouting insults. You rotten trash. Kim Dane, on the other end, calmly continued, you intrigue me. Why stand there instead of saving people? The plane is about to crash. Xian Haru angrily glared at the burning, falling plane and shouted, you did this, didn't you? Now you tell me to stop it. Kim Dane retorted, if you don't do it, who will? Xian Haru, choked with grief and tears streaming, shouted, if I just touch that wreck hurtling at 1,000 kilometers per hour, my body will be torn apart. This is your plan, right? You're trying to send me to my death. On this end, Kim Dane spread a dangerous smile. You can do it, Xian Haru. She was shocked. What? He kept encouraging her, act. Clench your fists, fly up there and save everyone. You can do it. Because it's you, you'll succeed. Xian Haru grew more chaotic, shouting inwardly, damn it, what is this lunatic saying? In a blinding white space, Kim Dane seemed to appear before her and gently asked, why would I want to kill you? If you're not here? Stardust, I'm just an ordinary villain. You are the one who helped me become whole. Xian Haru was momentarily stunned. Then she propped herself up on her knees and told herself, even if this might be a plot to eliminate me, I'll try once. As she spoke, she pulled the earphones out. She crushed the earphones in her hand. Then she planted her hands on the ground. She summoned power that shattered the space around her. Her body shot into the sky like a rocket, heading straight for the nose of the falling plane. She pressed her lips together, thinking, yes, if I just stand by and watch people die, I'll live forever haunted by guilt. Kim Dane's image appeared, saying confidently, you'll be fine, because it's you, you can do it. Xian Haru's face filled with resolve. She would rather sacrifice herself to save others than live forever with regret. Two streams of power collided in midair, creating a massive explosion. She thought, I've already killed them, but if I concentrate a bit more now. A fleeting image of a happy family, mom, dad. The man on the plane wept uncontrollably, looking down at the horrific scene, then closed his eyes as if giving up. Inside the plane, a little girl clamped her hands over her ears, gritted her teeth to stay conscious, and stared out the window. Suddenly she froze, tears streaming down her face. The speed is decreasing. Those outside widened their eyes in astonishment as they watched. A tense crew member reported over the radio, we're not sure what happened, but the plane is currently being supported from the outside and is descending to the ground. An announcement echoed through the cabin, passengers, please remain seated with your seatbelts fastened and await further instructions. In the sky, Xian Haru strained with all her strength to bear the weight of the plummeting plane at terrifying speed. She gritted her teeth, veins bulging on her face, just a little more. Cut to another scene, the view gradually opens up. A flight attendant asked in panic, Mr. Kim Dok-bae, are you all right? The man woke up, clutching his head wearily, then looked around bewildered and asked, "What happened?" After that, the two of them disembarked together. The flight attendant supported the victim, while Kim Dok-bae stared around in confusion, his face full of bewilderment. "Is it you?" The flight attendant looked at him in puzzlement. Kim Dok-bae wept profusely, exclaiming with joy, "She is the one who saved us, a hero." As for Xian Haru, she knelt on the ground amid everyone's curiosity. Kim Dok-bae cried out, "Is it her?" The flight attendant wondered too, but Kim Dok-bae, tears streaming, was moved. "She is the one who saved everyone." Xian Haru lifted her head, panting from exhaustion, tears running down her cheeks, and said, "Egotic." The story quickly made headlines everywhere. Xian Haru's image was printed clearly across international news. America stunned, Japan shocked, China loudly praised, France bowed to this hero. Who is Stardust? China was forced to admit that, as heroes go, they were completely outdone by Korea. Even 10 Japanese heroes combined couldn't match Korea. Japan's Minister of Internal Affairs revealed a shocking detail. The newsrooms quickly seized the story's momentum, reporting, "Good morning, viewers, this is the Morning 900 Bulletin starting your day." Yesterday morning, the A-rank villain Egotic used a remote control to seize the plane, causing it to fall. But all the passengers were miraculously saved. The one who stabilized the plane was none other than Stardust, our pride. Although many experts had earlier said she couldn't prevent the incident, in the end the plane landed safely. Finally, Jean Haru returned home. Hearing the news about herself, she quickly turned off the TV and took a sip of water. Just out of the shower, she looked very relieved and adorable. Suddenly the phone rang. She answered, "Hello." After hearing the person on the other end speak, she asked back, "Really?" The caller, a blue-haired person, confirmed, "Yeah, I asked the association president to give Xian Haru a short leave. Go to the beach and relax for a day. It's been a long time since we've gone together." Xian Haru exclaimed happily, "Okay, I'll leave tomorrow." The blue-haired person added, "Remember to invite Kim Chae-hyun too." After a while, Xian Haru went out onto the balcony to enjoy the breeze. Her face serious, as if pondering something. Someone's words echoed in her memory. "It'll be fine, because it's you, you'll be able to do it." Xian Haru smiled faintly, thinking, has anyone ever had that much faith in me? He's just an ordinary villain. Suddenly, she seemed to realize something. Wait, why did he tell me to go save the plane? If he was sure I could stop and save it, then why did he make it fall? Kim Dane's words echoed back, "I'm just an ordinary villain, he was the one who helped me become whole." Xian Haru pressed her forehead, feeling a throbbing headache. She thought Egotic was full of mysteries, but somehow she felt he deliberately did all this for some purpose. His movements needed thorough investigation. Her eyes filled with determination. Suddenly, her phone screen lit up with a call from the Hero Association. What the caller said next made Xian Haru exclaim in surprise. What? Remeasure the force parameters? Time quickly passed to the next morning. Roosters crowed. Cock-a-doodle-doo. Hanso, wearing a golden floaty at her side, shouted excitedly, "It's finally here." Kim Dane came out to remind them, "Say, get ready to go. Remember to deflate the float a bit and put it in the trunk." The girl replied excitedly, "Yes, sir." Seeing that, Kim Dane looked exasperated and muttered, "Oh really?" Suddenly he stroked his chin thoughtfully, thinking to himself, come to think of it, this is my first vacation since coming to this world. Should I enjoy it? Then Kim Dane also broke into an expectant smile. But shortly after, seeing the road clogged ahead, his voice rose in complaint. "What is this?" Inside the car, the three were flushed from the heat, sweat pouring down. Kim Dane sat in the driver's seat and grumbled, "Why did the air conditioning break today of all days?" Hanso, about to faint, suggested, "Hey, can you just teleport the whole car?" Kim Dane replied in panic, "You'll kill me on the spot. Stop at a rest stop and fix this first." Hans, with superintelligence, said, "If it's too hot, just take off a layer." The girl took off her jacket and shouted, "If I'd known, we should have taken the train, why make such a fuss?" Kim Dane objected, "We have too much stuff, that's not possible." Say curiously opened the gray box beside her, "What's this? Isn't this supposed to be vacation stuff?" It turned out to be a suitcase full of guns. Kim Dane gave a thumbs up smugly, who knows what might happen. Han, burning with anger in the back, shouted, "What kind of trip is this?" Kim Dane panicked and hurriedly reassured them, "Sorry. Say, put the gun down quickly, and then we'll talk." After a series of troubles on the way, their group finally arrived at the destination. Hanso had changed into a cute swimsuit, grabbed her golden floaty, and rushed excitedly into the sea, the ocean. Kim Dane sat on the shore, watching and smiling. This really makes you feel like a kid. Lee Subin popped open a can of soda and handed it to Kim Dane. I just bought drinks, have a can. She had also changed into a pretty bikini. Kim Dane took the drink and replied, thanks, Ms. Lee Subin. Suddenly, Lee Subin kept staring at Kim Dane, making him look back in confusion. She said, I'm always grateful to you, Kim Denver. He asked, grateful? For what? Liabin answered, for everything. Thank you for saving me back then, thank you for treating me kindly. Faced with such beauty and charm, Kim Dane went stiff, squinting with a grin and giving a thumbs up. What are you talking about? I'm the one who should be thanking you. You do our housework and you cook well. Lee Subin tucked her hair behind her ear, showing a bashful look. Hearing that, I'm very touched. Kim Dane swallowed hard, suspicion creeping onto his face as he thought to himself, could this be a dead flag from a comic or a betrayal? He looked anxiously at the can in his hand, thinking, could I have been poisoned? His contorted expression made Liabin look on in puzzlement. Cut to the large building in the city, where Xin Haru appeared. Some staff were talking together. We didn't mismeasure, the data clearly shows she couldn't have stopped the plane. Another staff member added, maybe there's an error somewhere. Perhaps we haven't grasped her true strength yet. Xin Haru stood before the strength test board, thinking, the ability test wasn't wrong. If I stopped a disaster that seemed impossible, then clearly, as she thought that, she unleashed her power, preparing to retake the test. The impact stunned the surrounding staff as they looked over. Xin Haru screamed, swinging a fist full of power, and that punch struck the test board dead on. The test board cracked and even the screws split apart. The force radiated out into the surrounding space. The staff watched the scene in horror. Standing before her fist, Xin Haru exclaimed, I'm stronger now. Back with Kim Den, Lee Subin sat beside him, tucking her hair shyly. Hearing that, I'm very touched. Seeing that expression, Kim Dane pressed his lips tensely, thinking, could this be the death flag in a comic or a betrayal? His face went pale as if he'd realized something terrible. While the sun still blazed down, Hanso, wearing her float, was enjoying the sea but kept an eye on the shore. Kim Dane replied tensely to Lee Subin, haha, I hope Miss Lubin will help us more in the future. Hanso quickly ran ashore, pointed at the two of them and exposed them. Hey, you two, are you two getting cozy and leaving me alone? Lee Subin flustered and shyly denied it. Getting cozy? Say? Kim Dane calmly asked, huh? The girl, angry, flared up, if it's a family trip, we should all play together. He flashed a mischievous smile, oh, is that so? Hanso grimaced at that expression. Seconds later, Kim Dane turned into a scary uncle, hoisting Hanso and her float up, making the girl panic. What are you doing? Wait. Kim Dane playfully tossed her into the sea with a sly laugh. What are you talking about? We're just playing together. Hanso fell into the water and struggled to surface, throwing a strand of seaweed at Kim Dane's face and shouting, water's up my nose, this is annoying, really. Kim Dane forced a smile, plucked seaweed from his face, thinking, anyway, it's been a long time since I've had such peace, I like it. Then he grinned like a devil and splashed water at Hanso. Lee Subin sat on the shore watching the scene, laughing happily. Time passed quickly, night had fallen. On the road, strange cars sped by, accompanied by a voice calling out, where shall our team strike tonight? Busan Hotel, Mario's Royal Hyperion, Han Grand Ambassador 2, all of them. The boss in the dark space exclaimed, make it a spectacular hit. Cut to the Mario's Royal Hyperion H Grand Ambassador H Hotel. After a fun day at the beach, Kim Dane's group returned to the hotel to rest. The receptionist asked, hello, under what name is the reservation? Kim Dane replied, maybe it's Hansel. The receptionist smiled brightly and handed over a room card. Yes, I've confirmed it. Here's the key for room 270. Kim Dane asked in confusion, only one room? Hello stepped up, standing beside them, pursed his lips and whistled, awkwardly explaining, well, saving a bit of money is fine too. The group let it go. The three of them headed out together to wait for the elevator up to the room. Suddenly, Hanso shouted, oh right, the bed is super huge, so let's sleep together. Kim Dane rolled his eyes, there's only one bed? Lee Subin, though excited and looking forward to it, remained calm. It's been a long time since the three of us slept together, it'll be fun. Kim Dane broke out in a sweat as he looked at the others. Well, we've never slept together before. In his heart he silently prayed, nothing will happen. Really nothing's going to happen, what are you expecting? The three actually slept together on the bed. Hanso lay in the middle, fast asleep and snoring loudly. Kim Dane had his eyes closed resting when suddenly a whisper came from outside the door, wait, I want to get into this room. Then came counting to build momentum, 1, 2. Two masked robbers, guns in hand, kicked the door in and shouted, FBI. Open up. Kim Dane flicked with a single finger. Immediately, the two were struck in the jaw, flipped backward, and knocked out on the spot. A moment later, Kim Dane sat up, rubbed his eyes, yawned, and said, where did these guys even come from? The two lay motionless and unconscious on the floor. Kim Dane peered cautiously out the door. He saw guests from other rooms still in their pajamas being dragged away by those FBI agents. Move quickly and check those kids, one shouted. He exclaimed, terrorists. Seriously? Then he gritted his teeth and crushed the edge of the door. Damn it, we went out twice and both times something stupid happens. What gives? On his phone screen, Kim Dane was looking up some information. He gasped, wait, Shadow Walker is still here and they dare cause trouble at night? The screen showed shocking news. A-rank hero Shadow Walker found collapsed in West Incheon. Hansel had woken up by now, yawning and asking, what's going on? Terrorists? Kim Dane replied, yeah. He thought, eyes wide, I'm not even surprised anymore. He reminded, wait, I'll go check the parking area, wake Lee Subin and wait in the room. Hans rubbed his eyes groggily, terrorists on vacation too? Okay, I'll follow orders. Kim Dane was now sitting in his car. He looked outside and saw the terrorists fumbling around near the cars. He thought, I can't just drive off quietly without dealing with this. Kim Dane rummaged around. He pulled out a grotesque mask and put on a sinister expression. I didn't expect the spare mask I brought to be useful right away. He said, serves those bastards right for ruining our vacation. Come on, show your faces. After grabbing his gear, Kim Dane returned to the hotel room. The two girls had woken up and were sitting up properly waiting. Kim Dane tossed the equipment toward the two and announced, take orders through the in-ear. Let's go, everyone. He looked extremely pleased. Hello sighed wearily, you really get excited at times like this. Outside the hotel lobby, the terrorists piled a heap of chairs into a small mound, with their leader Monkey Spanner, an A-rank villain, sitting atop it. Below him, henchmen aimed guns in every direction. Monkey Spanner stroked his beard and spoke, are we ready? The two men below nodded in reply. He praised them, good. Then he shouted, pointing downward, announce to the Hero Association and the government that we are holding hundreds of hostages here. If the money is not transferred to the account provided immediately, they will all be killed. Below, the captured guests knelt bound on the floor while Monkey Spanner continued to yell, the account number is 1, 2. Suddenly, a sound rang out that made both the hostages and the terrorists look in one direction. Monkey Spanner grew alert, closed his mouth, and paid attention. At that moment, Kim Dane, wearing an orange mask, stepped out clapping and laughed loudly. Enough, this dumb terrorist act ends here. He raised his hand and generated a wave of energy. Immediately, a gun in one terrorist's hand was sucked away by that force. Then countless guns were controlled by that force, their muzzles turned to press against the terrorists' own foreheads. Kim Dane swung his fist, sending a burst of power through the vast hotel. Inside, the hostages were terrified by the scene and screamed. Kim Dane's pupils glowed purple. He tensed, thinking, just this already used up months' worth of external power reserves. Then he leapt up. He launched himself at Monkey Spanner. He kicked him to the floor and took his place sitting atop him. Looking down from above, he wore a wicked grin. You weaklings dare commit terrorism? Suddenly Monkey Spanner's eyes flashed red. He pulled out his gun and pointed it straight at Kim Dane. A shot rang out. The bullet struck Kim Dane in the abdomen, causing even him to stare down at the wound in surprise. Quickly, a mad laugh echoed. Ha ha ha, just one bullet. Kim Dane's expression stunned Monkey Spanner. Kim Dane sat above with the bullet still in his belly, but he calmly smiled and asked, is that it? Monkey Spanner at this moment felt like a giant who could control everything in his palm. Above, Kim Dane quietly broke into a cold sweat. Beneath the mask his face was twisted in pain. He thought, damn it, this is bad. If this keeps going, I'll die from blood loss. Below, Monkey Spanner began to move his feet. A premonition told him to leave immediately. He calculated inwardly, bastards, I planned to strike quickly and retreat while Shadow Walker was away. Could it be that he was also on the target listed eliminated, which is why it hit here in advance? Above, Kim Dane forced himself to endure the pain and said with a smile, you seem tense, I'll give you a chance to run now if you can. Monkey Spanner gritted his teeth and swung his fist, demanding, what are you plotting? Kim Dane sat there and continued, plot my ass. The thing you're racking your brain over is the real plot. Now you've ruined my vacation because of yourself, so don't bother me, retreat while you still can. Internally he urged the other, please, stop thinking so much, go, just opening your eyes makes me dizzy. Monkey Spanner reconsidered inwardly, this is an opportunity. Yes, just power up and I can recover at any time. Startled hostages watched as he became like the Flash and dashed straight for the hotel entrance, thinking to himself, I, Monkey Spanner, will someday become king of Korea, I cannot die here. But from outside the door, a sudden punch swung in, accompanied by shards of sharp glass. The blow sent Spanner flying violently backward. His body contorted and hurtled away like a wayward rocket. Xin Haru appeared in time, loudly warning the terrorists, you're surrounded, drop your weapons and surrender. But when she looked down at the floor, she saw that a group of terrorists had long been lying strewn about. At that moment, a pair of straight legs stepped in. Xin Haru was bewildered. Ice, an A-rank hero, with a cold expression said, huh? They're all taken out? Shadow Walker, an A-rank hero, stood beside him, looking bored, so boring, they're all knocked out? Spread some fake news and it's terrorism right away. Shadow Walker noticed Kim Dane sitting on the tall pile of chairs and asked, but who is that? Kim Dane was dazed, a pink bubble floating above his head, and he thought inwardly, why is she here? Xin Haru frowned, looked up, and asked, who are you? Did you subdue these terrorists? Kim Dane tried to press the wound closed, thinking, if I don't focus, I'll die right here, Kim Dane. Fortunately, it seemed they didn't recognize him as Egotic, so he stalled. He just needed to recover enough to teleport twice more. On the other end, Hansel and Lubin listened tensely to the voice in their earpieces. Outside, Kim Dane kept up the dangerous act, saying, you ask who I am? I'm an S-rank hero operating covertly in Korea. Those three below looked up in astonishment at the claim. Xin Haru hurriedly pointed, expose him, there's no record of an S-rank hero in the association. What nonsense are you spouting? Who are you really? Kim Dane replied calmly, A-rank hero Stardust, don't you know what covert operations mean? A-rank hero Ice, A-rank hero Shadow Walker. I'm a hero who operated since before your generation. Lubin frowned in concern. Outside, Kim Dane remained cocky, when you meet a senior, you should at least show some respect, these guys are ridiculous. Xin Haru looked up with a mixture of irritation and suspicion, and he continued shaking his head in disappointment. Ha, you can tell by the looks on your faces that you don't understand anything. Fine, I'll introduce myself properly. Listen carefully, I am the hero. His gaze shifted to a boy wearing a t-shirt with apple mango printed on the back. An image of a delicious fruit appeared. Kim Dane timely blurted out the name, Apple Mango. The released guests listened, and expressions began to load at that name. Ice heard the info through her earpiece and replied, ah, he's saying Apple Mang. Then she coldly beckoned and exposed him. Hey, over there, they say no one has that hero alias. Who are you, really? Kim Dane yelled angrily, insolent fool, I even know the association chairman's real name is Parkman Jun, now it's Parkman Jun, right? My name sounded rustic so I changed it, go check it. Those words left all three stunned. Inside, he was tense, he hadn't expected the information from Nguyen Tak to be this useful. Ice responded, in any case, the chairman said he doesn't know you. At that moment, a guest spoke up, sounding very displeased, hey heroes, I've been watching and I'm pissed, so I have to say something. Ice nervously broke into a sweat, I mean, everyone please stay calm. The guest continued, that masked guy subdued those bad guys for us, so who he is doesn't matter at all. Kim Dane screamed inwardly, oh God, perfect, sir. Just a little more energy and I can get away. The man continued, and I saw that person make a gun float and fire it everywhere. He looks like that name that shows up on TV. Xin Haru caught the point, while Kim Dane froze awkwardly. The man downstairs gave him a thumbs up, so what if that's the case? Thinking back, I got all thrilled. Kim Dane screamed inwardly, stop it. Ice sneered, that's pretty suspicious, isn't it? Kim Dane tensed silently, sweating. Just a little more. The three below began to manifest their powers. First we should subdue him, then expose his identity, right? Ice stretched out his hand and launched his power forward. A pillar of ice drove into the floor. Kim Dane gritted his teeth and froze in thought. Shadow Walker had silently closed in on him from behind. Kim Dane was slashed, and he cried out inwardly, please, move. Xin Haru's sharp gaze fixed on the opponent. Then she shot forward like a rocket. Kim Dane grimaced, extremely worried about the situation. At that moment, Kim Dane managed to use his power, moved down below, and avoided the restraint. Hansel and Lubin appeared in time and caught him. Then the two quickly vanished, taking the wounded Kim Dane away from the scene. Soon after, their car nosedived. The people inside were thrown about. Hansel's eyes spun, he sat unsteady, still urgently asking, "Are you okay?" Kim Dane's face twisted in pain as he said, "Yes, now delete all evidence that we were ever in Busan. The hotel's guest logs and CCTV, if they find them." At this point he couldn't speak further. The two girls looked up in panic. Are you okay?" Blood from Kim Dane's abdominal wound kept flowing. Lubin shouted, "Take him to a hospital immediately." Kim Dane tried to stop them. "No, I don't have the strength to teleport anymore. We'll definitely be caught. Take me back to Ego Base." Lubin gritted his teeth tensely, steering with one hand while loudly instructing Han Seo. "First, grab the first aid kit and do emergency treatment." Han Seo's eyes welled with tears, as if witnessing a haunting scene. Lubin turned back and shouted to urge, "Hurry up." The girl pulled herself together, quickly wiped her tears. Yes. Lubin, with a serious expression, sped off. "I'll get everyone out of here first." On the dark road, the car raced like it was flying. Back in the hotel lobby, the hostages were reassured by the police. Ice stood aside inside. Seriously, a rare day off and those villains still won't let us rest for even one day. Shadow Walker asked gloomily, "I'm going to take a little break, okay?" Ice replied, Sure, you deserve it. It's my fault for inviting everyone out to relax." Ice turned to Shinharu, "Since we're already here, Stardust." Meanwhile, Shinharu pursed her lips and sat in silence, not paying attention to her surroundings. On the road, a car was driving. The driver yawned repeatedly, tired. "Ugh, so sleepy, I'll just chew some gum." Suddenly he saw another car approaching in the rearview mirror. What is that? That car sped like smoke, overtook him and someone shouted, "Is that car crazy?" On the dashboard, the speed had already exceeded 220 km per hour. Han Seo tried to treat Kim Dane's wounds. Lubin gripped the wheel with a grim expression. Kim Dane was covered in blood, the wound kept bleeding despite the bandage, and sweat poured from the pain. Meanwhile, Shinharu clenched her fist and said seriously, "We need to keep an eye on his movements." Cut to the past, in Kim Dane's room, a voice exclaimed, "Villains again, villains again. They harassed Stardust in every way they could." Kim Dane slammed the book shut, lay on the bed with a blank expression, and said, "Is it going to end like this?" This is 19-year-old Kim Dane in the past, his face ringed with dark circles. This story is just full of themes of ultimate collapse. The book fell to the floor. Kim Dane tossed and turned on the bed, moaning, "Stardust." He muttered something, then drifted off to sleep. A flash of light streaked across the night sky through the window. Cut back to the present, at some residential area. Han Seo was worried about Kim Dane's condition. Her face was pale from extreme exhaustion. Lubin brought a tray of food, but the girl refused. "I won't eat." Lubin urged, "Eat a little. Kim Dane will wake up." Kim Dane was lying unconscious on the sickbed. Han Seo covered her face and sobbed. Lai Subin sat beside her, consoling her in sorrow. As the girl cried and swallowed her food, a voice suddenly rang out, "You still eat so well, Seo." Kim Dane turned to look, smiled, and said, "And I'm about to die here." The two girls looked over in surprise. Han Seo whimpered and cried loudly once more. She screamed and thrashed, punching Kim Dane. Lai Subin sat beside them moved to tears. He could only smile wryly and cry out in pain, "Ouch." Outside, the sky was still pitch black. Images of Kim Dane wearing a white mask and holding a golden mask circulated online, with news about him spreading everywhere. Is a non-fatal terrorist incident really terrorism? Shinharu sat before the computer screen, deep in thought. The airplane incident didn't have casualties either. She wondered what would have happened if Egotic's call hadn't come and she couldn't act. Kim Dane's image appeared, smiling. "It will work. Because it's you, you'll do it." Shinharu bowed her head, tense. She thought she would definitely succeed, as if she already knew her powers would be enhanced. Then she suddenly curled her lips and said, "How would I know? It's probably just a coincidence." But she clenched her hand into a fist. There was no denying she had grown stronger. She picked up someone's info board and thought, one more suspicious point, the villains killed by Egotic. This guy once had the power to cause a large-scale disaster someday, and he could see that. Shinharu concluded, Egotic is definitely not a hero, but calling him simply a villain still isn't satisfactory. I have a hunch he's orchestrating some huge game. Next time there's an attack, we must unmask him no matter what. Shinharu was utterly determined. Over by Hansel, the girl was also staring at her phone, pondering. So what's the purpose of those terrorist incidents? Egotic knows the real name of the Hero Association chairman, PM June. Could Egotic have once been a high-ranking hero who, after a conflict with the association, switched sides to become a villain? The conspiracy theory that Egotic conflicted with the Hero Association was spreading. The three of them sat at the dining table. Hearing that, Kim Dane looked like he was about to vomit. Say? I think I'm going to throw up. Lee Subin forced a smile and put away her phone. Say, for now don't bother Kim Dane. He's very tired right now. The girl, still displeased, demanded, what are you going to do? Play the, I'm a villain so I have to act like this card and keep bombing people? With that body of yours? Again? Kim Dane flinched at her expression. Say. I have no words. Suddenly, both girls across from him stared at him sharply. Kim Dane had to make a decision. We'll take a break for a bit, about 3 months. This made both their faces relax with joy. Really? He kept chewing and affirmed, yeah, pause for a while. With the current public attention, if he disappeared for a while, things would cool down. Kim Dane thought to himself that during the break he should recruit new members. An image of a mysterious person appeared in his mind. Kim Dane calculated, left unchecked, that guy would become a major unbalancing villain in the future. If he couldn't kill him, he had to bring him to his side. Very quickly, 3 months passed. An announcement sounded, a villain has appeared, Stardis prepare to launch. Xin Haru hurriedly asked, is it Egotic? The other side denied, no, it's a villain calling himself Lockbom. Hearing that, she replied disappointedly, ah, I see. Later, Jean Haru in her hero form shot through the sky like a missile. As she flew, she wondered, Egotic, where did you go and what did you do these past 3 months? Cut to Kim Dane's house. He was sitting watching the big TV showing images of Xin Haru, eating popcorn and excited as if watching a movie. Hanso sat beside him looking exasperated. At that moment, a monster named Lockbom, a Class A villain, unleashed its power and roared. Kim Dane cheered at the screen, go for it, Stardis. Meanwhile Xin Haru, rushing to attack Lockbom, yelled, are you Egotic? No. Xin Haru flew into a fury and pulverized the opponent. Soon after, on the ground lay a club-wielding guy with bulging eyes, unconscious. Kim Dane excitedly threw his popcorn tube up and shouted, see, the power-up was totally worth it, Stardis. Hanso frowned, exasperated, is that so entertaining? Kim Dane was startled and embarrassed. Kind of sudden. The girl loudly reminded him, causing him to spit out his drink, now get to work. Hello continued, hey, I can't stand you hanging around Stardust's fan club all day anymore. Kim Dane looked at her in confusion. What? Se-han spoke in a grim tone. Kim Dane, leader of Stardis Group, you thought I didn't know? I'm a well-known hacker. Exposed, Kim Dane quickly snatched the remote and turned off the screen, stammering, it's just a little hobby. The girl reminded him, anyway, we were supposed to be working today. Kim Dane sat up, today's the 17th, right? The girl grew excited, what? Are we doing terrorism? Kim Dane denied it, no. Se asked again, so are we going to take down villains? He denied again, not that either. Kim Dane smiled brightly and said, we're going to recruit new members. Cut scene. From a high vantage above the town, an elderly couple admired the view below. The man sighed, oh, this place is still the same, huh? It looks no different from 20 years ago. At that moment, a girl wearing a hat, her face lowered and hard to see, bumped into him. Ah, I'm sorry. He waved it off, it's okay, I'm fine. You a student. But after she passed, she was holding a wallet in her hand. This girl had blue irises. Glimpsing down below, she saw a group of thugs, each with a cigarette in his mouth, looking up at her with lecherous, roguish faces. The girl clenched her teeth in anger. Just then, a boy with the same clear blue irises appeared, ran over smiling and called, sis. The boy's name was Chon, 13 years old. The girl pinched her little brother's cheek and asked, did you have fun? The boy happily replied, MHM. She noticed her brother's injured knee, your knee's scraped. Where did you get hurt? Cha Yun answered innocently, I just fell on the way home. The girl raised her hand, emitted healing power, and cautioned, really, be more careful next time. Cha Yun watched the wound on his knee heal and exclaimed in surprise, wow. After a moment, the tear had completely vanished. The girl took off her hat and placed it on Chon's head. You go home first, okay? The boy obediently nodded, yes. When she removed the hat, it revealed a pretty girl with orange hair. She smiled brightly and said, I'm going to buy some good food and then come back. Introducing the girl, this is Lai Houn, who later becomes the villain called Green Frog. Some time later, night had fallen. Lai Houn returned with a bag of food, opened the door and cheerfully called, "Cha Yun, I bought a tasty tabui for you." Suddenly Lai Haun's face turned pale at the sight inside. A voice came from within the house, "Told you so, this kid." The bag of food fell, and inside were the wild dog gang from the reservoir area. Cha Yun was being restrained by a masked man. One of them spoke, "In our turf and you still dare to pick pockets? If I find you're hiding anything else, I'll send you off to heaven. You hear me?" Though terrified, Lai Houn shouted, "That's enough, let Chon go and take all that stuff and get out." The man sighed, sounding bored, "Look at that kid." He grabbed Cha Yun's hair so hard the boy screamed in pain. The man took pleasure in others' pain. "Hey, you little girl." Two other men lunged to restrain Lai Houn. She screamed, "Bastards." He continued holding Cha Yun's head and said, "Look, it seems your sister doesn't understand what's happening, does she?" The scar-eyed man pressed the knife to Chon's throat. "Today I'll teach you a lesson." Lai Houn saw this and screamed in horror, "No, I'm wrong, please." The wicked scar-eyed man raised the knife. "Too late, you bitch." Cha Yun squeezed his eyes shut, desperate. Suddenly, some force snatched the knife out of his hand. He was stunned and glanced back, then was struck by a force that flung him forward, slamming him into the wall. After that, dangerous gun barrels hovered above the wild dog gang at the reservoir. Seizing the moment, Cha Yun surged forward. Lai Houn grabbed the boy tightly, calling out excitedly, "Cha Yun." Kim Dane appeared outside their yard. He thought, the 17th, Friday, today Cha Yun would have been killed by that gang, Lai Houn would have been corrupted and turned to villainy. Good thing I arrived early, a little later and disaster would have struck. Cha Yun turned outward, saw him, and blurted in astonishment, "See, could it be?" Lai Houn turned, stepped protectively in front of Cha Yun, and demanded, "Are you Itastic?" Kim Dane smiled with a villainous grin, "Pleased to meet you, Houn and Cha Yun. I'm here to take you both with me." Lai Houn scowled and shouted loudly, "Why are you taking us? You're clearly a cruel villain." She demanded. Kim Dane calmly explained, "Why? Obviously to save you. Didn't you see just now? Besides, if the police showed up it'd be a hassle." Lai Houn remained firm, "I'd rather die than go." "You bastard, what are you planning?" At that moment, Cha Yun darted outside like the wind. Lai Houn froze and urgently shouted, "Cha Yun?" "No." In her eyes she saw Cha Yun rushing toward Kim Dane, whom she believed to be very dangerous. But the boy ran up, grabbed Kim Dane's hand, and cried, "Egotic, I'm in the Mang Association." The boy looked at Kim Dane with admiration and pride. Even Kim Dane was flustered by the boy's affection. Very quickly, Kim Dane took the two siblings back to his hideout and introduced them to the other members. "Alright, then these will be our new members. Say hello." Cha Yun's eyes lit up as he cheered, "Wow, even Ego's famous female hacker is here." Lubin broke into a sweat at that nickname. Cha Yun asked naively, "So is she a hacker?" Lai Houn carefully bowed and greeted, "Hello everyone. I'm Lai Houn, this is my brother, Cha Yun." Hansel observed closely and remarked seriously, "The new member has healing powers, so it's a girl, huh?" After a while, the group gradually warmed to each other. Kim Dane cheerfully opened the fridge, calling as he took out mango juice. Cha Yun excitedly shouted, "It's mango." Han stared ahead, recalling the first time he met Kim Dane. Lai Houn sat beside him, still tense and on guard. Kim Dane by the fridge tilted his head back to gulp the juice. Han suddenly shouted in a threatening tone, "Don't just shove your mouth right in like that." Startled, Kim Dane spat the juice out. "That's mine." Hansel, though knowing he'd gone too far, gruffly warned, "Then be more careful next time." Lubin gently carried over a plate of peeled apples and asked, "Cha Yun, do you want some fruit?" The boy's eyes lit up, "Wow, thank you." He quickly grabbed a fork, speared a piece of apple, and put it in his mouth. Lai Houn called out anxiously, "Cha Yun." The boy turned back in surprise. "Huh?" Lai Houn only turned away and sighed. It's nothing," Kim Dane cheerfully called. "Say, Lai Subin, I was going to have a sincere talk with them for a bit, could you two step outside first?" Han stuck out her tongue teasingly, mimicking him again. "Could you step outside for a moment?" Kim Dane was speechless at the girl's personality. "Lai Subin, take her back to the main house first." "Do that." After a while, only 3 people remained in the room. Kim Dane sat opposite the two sisters and spoke first. "Lai Houn, you killed the orphanage director and ran away, didn't you?" Those words made Lai Houn frown, on guard. Kim Dane continued. "I've investigated. That director often abused you too. I didn't come to you by chance. I have a purpose, she asked suspiciously. Purpose? Kim Dane replied. To let you two live happily. Lai Houn looked at him in astonishment. What? Kim Dane smiled and continued. Ah, of course not under this cramped ground. I've set up a teleport gate, we'll move to the main house, live there and go to school. Lai Houn still doubted, questioning. Why do this for us? We only met today. Kim Dane remembered Hansel, and gently explained. Because I also have a little sister, that's why I did it. Cha Yun's eyes lit up. I've watched all of Mangal Egotic's terror cases. I watched them over and over a dozen times. Kim Dane awkwardly replied. Is that so? Thank you. He was uneasy inside, not sure if elementary students should watch those things. Lai Houn warned sternly. Cha Yun, Lai Houn warned sternly. Cha Yun clasped his hands tightly, full of expectation for a bright life ahead. Lai Houn pondered for a moment then agreed. All right. A little later, Kim Dane led the two sisters to a special location. A secret gate opened, revealing a mysterious space. Kim Dane turned and smiled brightly. Follow me. He stepped into the gate, his body gradually disappearing. Lai Houn remained very tense, while Cha Yun excitedly jumped to the gate, turned and waved. Sis, aren't you going? I'm going first. Lai Houn called back in panic, then sighed helplessly. Finally she decided to follow them. After a while, Lai Houn climbed the stairs and looked around in amazement. In front of her stood Cha Yun looking out the window, the light shining brilliantly and warmly. Kim Dane asked. Do you like it? This will be our home. Cha Yun seems to like it. I'll be on the 3rd floor, and you on the 2nd. There are 2 private rooms, and don't worry about tuition. At this age you should be going to school, I have plenty of money. Lai Houn looked at him still full of doubt. Kim Dane gently added. If it feels awkward, stay a few days and then decide. If you want to go back you can refuse at any time. Okay. Lai Houn looked at the other person, and suddenly recalled the scene of the scar-eyed man pressing a knife to Cha Yun's neck. Back then, the boy had desperately closed his eyes. But now, he was cheerful and innocent. Lai Houn nodded and replied. Thank you very much. Kim Dane patted her shoulder, reassuring. It's nothing, let's live well together. Elsewhere, Kim Dane put on a smug villainous expression, then suddenly scratched his head in bewilderment. I think I forgot something. What was it? Night had deepened, the moon shining clearly. Social media screens were flooded with information about Egotic. Is Egotic really dead? Mangal Bell can't be. It's been nearly 4 months and they're still missing. Under the comments were pleas, come back, come back, come back. Xin Haru sat in front of her computer screen, disappointed, wondering, where are you and what are you doing, Egotic? She furrowed her brow, waiting until she was nearly out of patience. In the laboratory bathed in green light, the viscous liquid in the gigantic tank began to boil violently, bubbles rose and burst as if something enormous were stirring inside. 2 scientists stood on the balcony looking down, their gazes a mix of fear and excitement. One of them spoke in a trembling voice, every time I witness it I still get goosebumps. The bespectacled man, sweat beading on his brow, tried to swallow, his smile twisted between fear and exhilaration. He exclaimed, incredible, his eyes glittering like someone intoxicated by the frenzy of science. Behind him, the silver-haired man remained standing silently, his expression cold as steel. The silver-haired man gave a thin smile, his voice ringing with confidence. The behemoth project must be completed. He turned to his colleague and said, we will present it to Dr. Kim Seon-woo when he is released. The green light playing across his face made the smile look even more terrifying. Beneath a layer of liquid, the gigantic creature continued to convulse, its black tentacles whipped against the tank walls with a bone-chilling sound. The silver-haired man twisted his mouth and said, when that happens, South Korea will collapse. His eyes flashed an uncontainable madness. And the Hanun Corporation will dominate the entire world. No one can stop us. Around them, a cluster of scientists stood around the test tank, hands stretched toward the seething creature. Shouts rose in frantic chorus. The room trembled in waves, a blue light flashed brightly. The whole scene resembled a ritual summoning a monster. Cut to inside the Egotic base. In the sunlit kitchen, the knife tapped out a steady rhythm as mushrooms were sliced. Lee Haru carefully cut each slice, her face serious but slightly embarrassed, her hand trembling faintly from being unused to kitchen work. Beside her, Subin washed the greens, smiling gently as she asked, you could stay home and rest. Why insist on helping me? Lee Haru replied flustered, no, I feel more comfortable when I help, her voice small and shy. Subin murmured, thank you, her eyes closed, a gentle, grateful expression on her face. Lee Haru knit her brow slightly, looking sad as if worried about something. Subin smiled softly as she watched Lee Haru help tidy up, her voice tender, "We'll finish preparing soon, it's all thanks to you." Lee Haru bowed her head slightly, her green eyes flashing with embarrassment. In her mind a thought echoed, the beautiful victim of the Egotic bombing, Sister Subin. For months after that case, she was living a happy, prosperous life, so complete that it entirely dispelled the worrying rumors that she had been assaulted. Seo-eun's voice sounded at her side. "Hey, can you help me up?" Do-in warned again. "Try to stay steady when you walk, Seo-eun, you'll only hurt yourself." In Lee Haru's head the stream of thought still continued, and the true identity of Egotic was Kim Do-in. Do-in flopped down into the chair, her voice sharp. "This house is so bright and yet you still sleep in the pitch-black basement." He still tugged Seo-eun lightly. The girl replied wearily, "You're the one who keeps talking about that ego base." After a few seconds of silence, Do-in shifted her tone in a flash. "All right then, let's eat." Do-in was extremely excited as she looked at the food before her, but Lee Haru's thoughts had not stopped. Someday, if he returned wounded, with his healing ability. She reached out her hand in front of her, then clenched it with determination. Cut to Do-in now sprawled on the bed in the bare room, light streaming through the window onto the wall calendar. He murmured in a weary tone, "It's time." A hint of fatigue crossed his face, his eyes contemplatively fixed on the ceiling. "It's time to prepare for the black disaster caused by those bastards at Hanun Group." Suddenly a loud "Kwang" exploded, the window rattled, a cold voice echoed, "So it's you hiding here, Mangostic." Seo-eun burst into the room, fired up, shouting, "Now let's go terrorize them. I'm so fed up I'm going crazy." Do-in answered, "All right, now we're going to go terrorize them." The girl asked in surprise, "Really?" He simply smiled faintly, then announced, "Team Ego, all members assemble." By now everyone was present. Suddenly Lee Haru spoke up, but at first why are we going to terrorize like this?" The three others' faces darkened. Do-in wore a proud expression and began to explain, "If you're curious about the reason for our terrorist actions, the world's compassion is the answer." Seo-eun crossed her arms and said exasperatedly, "Stop, get to the point, will you?" That one, Do-in was helpless. "It's no longer on, but that." His face grew serious. "Lee Haru, actually we're the villains." She broke into a sweat. "Understood. So we have to carry out a terror act." Seo-eun raised a finger and continued, "However we absolutely must not cause civilian casualties. We need to create a dilemma perfectly suited to Egotic's idea. Oh, and it has to be related to Stardust, that bastard. It has to be a terrorist act that somehow benefits her." Do-in could only smile wryly. "Thanks for the summary, Seo-eun, but did you just say something inappropriate? That was just a slip of the tongue, right?" He uncapped his pen and smiled confidently. "Anyway." He sketched an image of a bridge. The idea for the next terrorist act was, "Has the Soul Bridge collapsed yet?" Lee Haru was a bit puzzled why it had to be the Soul Bridge. "Because right here, a giant monster will appear at this location in Uedo, and it will head straight north, sweeping across the entire Korean peninsula. But what if we make the Soul Bridge collapse during the terrorist act? It will be drenched, the monster's weakness is water, it will be finished. We must terrorize and also capture the villain, in other words, kill two birds with one stone." After finishing his words, he tipped his hat and bowed to mark the end of his performance. Seo-eun looked at this pile of plans and had to ask, "Where on earth have you been getting this information all this time? You only left one line, it's a trade secret." Seo-eun lightly raised a hand to hide her smile. "It felt like we were both taking down a villain and committing an act of terrorism at the same time. Moreover, this time it didn't seem to be about that damn Stardust." Do-in could only give a helpless smile. "Can you drop the word damn?" Hearing that, the girl sat down happily and replied, "Perfect, is the idea decided yet?" Do-in answered with a confident smile, "What's the one thing we have in abundance?" Seo-eun replied skeptically, "Money," but he had to dismiss that with the gesture of a tycoon. "No, that's not money." The day had finally come, his image appeared before everyone's cameras. He was hovering in the air with a loudspeaker and a camera. Behind him was the Soul Bridge. Hovering above, he began to speak, "Greetings everyone, chosen as the most influential villain by the Heroes Association." His gaze narrowed slightly. "I, Egotic, have returned. Everyone knows what I'm about to do, right? What else could I do, at Soul Bridge? Ha ha ha, of course a bomb threat." A driver shouted loudly, "It's a terrorist attack." Sunlight still shone before the impending disaster. Do-in's face darkened as she lifted the switch to announce, "Everyone hold on tight." After he pressed the button, a series of explosions lit up the bridge. The ruined bridge lay before them, his voice still echoed. "It seemed the selection of new guests to assist our little game had been completed." Below someone commented, "Who in their right mind would recruit guests like that?" His words continued to be broadcast to everyone. The participants in this game were the good citizens of this country watching the live stream. Yes, it was you. The method was simple, send your bank account number to the link mentioned in the video, and I will immediately transfer 100,000 won. However, before 7 p.m. tonight, if the number of people who accept 100,000 won from me exceeds 500,000, I will blow up this bridge, of course including those traveling on it. Everyone received this information, some were panicked and worried, but others eagerly began entering their account numbers, offering the choice, 100,000 won for free or this possibly explosive bridge. Now, your choice, 100,000 won or the bridge. With that line the screen suddenly went dark. Before it ended, he left one last line that set the chat ablaze. Oh, Stardust, you don't need to appear today, take a rest. People began commenting excitedly, I'll personally protect my woman, the sweet villain telling Stardust to rest, LMAO as if she'd sit out just because he said so, she's a hero though. Finally done, he stretched. His eyes closed, he smiled inwardly, thinking she was probably relieved not to be bothered by some crazed villain. Before he could finish speaking, Stardust came flying in from afar at breakneck speed, which made him involuntarily exclaim, Stardust. Seeing her, he awkwardly flung the detonator control into the air, and Stardust, seeing it, immediately recognized the device. Looking at the girl before him, he thought to himself, long time no see, Stardust. Her face darkened as she looked at him without saying a word. Under the weight of this deadly silence, he could only call out, Stardust. She still said nothing, only fixing him with a cold, piercing stare. Dain, not understanding what was happening, also turned to look. At this moment he looked utterly small under the pressure of this woman. What on earth is going on? The scene shifts to a workspace, an older man speaks up, Hey Kim, what's the matter? Sneaking a cigarette, the young man over there cheerfully holds up his phone and replies to the captain, look. On the phone is footage of Dain being replayed. If you enter your account number here, he'll actually send 100,000 won. The uncle frowned at the phone and said, let's see, if more than 500,000 people receive it, he'll blow up the Seoul Bridge. The young man replied, yes, I know Ego's tip. He's staging some kind of terror on the bridge right now. The uncle beside him also remembers, that villain who wants to act like a lunatic. What a joke, who would believe that? The young man, his face like he'd struck gold, replied, I just finished, 100,000 won. The uncle heard that and shouted loudly, hey, don't do that. The young man immediately bowed in fear and stammered, sorry, captain. But then the uncle immediately changed his expression, pulled out his phone and smiled, I got it as soon as you appeared. Seeing that the young man recovered and gave a thumbs up in return, Captain, you really startled me, you're a good actor. After that it was just the two of them talking, we'll really hit 500,000 stars, forget it, let's have a company party tonight. The young man could reply just fine. Inside a kitchen, a mother was checking on her child over the phone, hey, have you eaten yet? My bank account number. She was puzzled, suddenly what's wrong with the boy? Since when has he been giving me an allowance? On the screen it appeared that Ego Team 100,000 had been transferred in. She exclaimed, oh my, really, but what is Ego Team? Cut to the burning bridge. Dain sat there trembling uncontrollably, who would have thought it would be this cold today? Then he grew serious again, after all. He recalled the image of Stardust, her gaze was as sharp as a knife. She was ready to rush in if I blew the bridge up, as if the air had frozen solid. Why was she glaring at me like that? Could Seoul Bridge hold some memories that weren't in the original? I didn't think she'd be that angry, it almost made me feel guilty. But then he resolutely came back, with no other choice, it was all for Stardust. Given the way the dark threat was portrayed in the original, her current powers would never be able to stop it. In the original storyline, it was the first true threat, it marked the moment this comic moved beyond meaningless heroic beats and into something much darker. Putting everything aside, Dain took out his phone to check the progress. Looking at the number on the screen left him astonished. 450,000 people had already signed up and there were still 3 hours to go. He slowly jumped down onto the packed dirt, bit his lip and said, these people are something else. Raising a hand to his neck and exhaling softly, Dain told himself he didn't need to lift a finger to win against them, were they really that reckless? But standing before the camera he still had to smile and say, good citizens of South Korea, I don't believe any of you would stoop so low as to accept that money. Below, a string of comments read, exactly, right, of course. He placed his hand on the white car and continued, you haven't forgotten, have you? Wait for our new guests, their lives hanging by the whim of a merciless villain. He looked into the car and thought to himself this part was beyond his control. I would like to say it's someone else's doing, it's just that. He said with a smile to the person inside, hello, thank you for joining us, could you introduce yourself? The man sitting in the car chuckled in response, yes, hello, my name is Choi Jung-jin. Dain judged from his nonchalant expression that there was no longer any worry. You climbed into the car and continued the interview. Pleased to meet you, Mr. Choi, your life is in danger, aren't you scared, not even a little concerned? Hearing that, Choi Jung-jin laughed even louder. De-in was a bit surprised, he was laughing. Choi Jung-jin radiated a kind of saintly light and replied, as long as people don't accept the money, including the Seoul Bridge, I'm fine, right? De-in was also affected by that light and closed her eyes. I'll apologize for them right here. Below, comments appeared one after another. I thought about taking advantage of it but never mind, you're a good person, am I trash, right? I'll take the money then rather than you. I apologize, I'm sorry. De-in was at a loss for words. Well then, what a splendid declaration from Mr. Choi, trusting his fellow Koreans. Any last words? Stardust watched from a distance but could still hear Choi Jung-jin saying, go to Korea, I believe in you. She slightly frowned. What's your game, Egotic? De-in was still lingering on the bridge, silently hoping, so tired, please, this time just a normal reaction. He looked through the window at another car. When they saw him, there were loud screams from inside the car, like seeing an idol. The girls took turns expressing themselves. Mangostic, my god, he's insanely handsome in real life. Hey, after this let's buy a lottery ticket, we'll die before we even scratch it, we're his loyal fans. But will he really kill us? He always saves people at the last moment, right? Another friend said, hey, haven't you seen him crush the plane? That's right. The murmurs made him feel scared too and he thought to himself, what a headache. De-in used the excuse to run off. Alright, the interview is over, let's get out of here. A girl quickly grabbed him. Wait, he said impatiently. She took out a tablet and asked him to sign before he left. You also had to sign for the girl. People started gossiping. He really signed. Now it's hard to say who the victim is. Inside their car they thanked him with 100,000 won each from him. 400,000 in total. Great, let's go eat malatang later. You know we won't get to eat if we die here today. Oh right. De-in resolved in her heart that she would never interview ordinary people again. This terror stunt has failed. The drone hovered. De-in gave orders. Seo-eun pulled up the screen. De-in's image was projected onto the big screen. A swarm of cameras turned toward him. Yes, everyone, the appointed time of 7 o'clock in the evening has arrived. The national projection, 100,000 won on the bridge. Now I will announce the results. Everyone immediately started gossiping. Come on, no way. It's up to 500k now, don't let Jung-jin lose everyone. Jung-jin, I'm sorry. Damn, if Seoul Bridge collapses how will I go to work tomorrow? And then the shocking result was announced. 1,250,000 people chose the 100,000 won option, and following his words a fireworks display appeared. They couldn't believe it. Viewers from the beloved Republic of Korea, the girls from earlier also screamed in panic. What is this? De-in snapped her fingers. Please enjoy this final fireworks display, a gift for each of your selfish souls. After that a series of explosions occurred. Stardust, watching from afar, was furious. He finally. De-in raised her cap to her chest, bowed formally and said, your host, Egotic, ends here. At the same time the camera panned to the scene of the bridge blown to ruins. Oh my god, he killed them. People couldn't bear to watch and left the chat room. De-in was a bit tired, hanging here too long, she's exhausted and about to faint, now she's reached her limit. You stand in the night full of fireworks, so let Stardust fight them while we just watch. Suddenly a light streaked across from nowhere. Stardust was dashing off at a terrifying speed. It turned out she was plunging toward the falling car. She reached out trying to grab it. She couldn't grab it. He began to cast his magic, silently cursing, damn it. The car was slowly enveloped by De-in's power. Even Stardust and De-in both gave it their all. Fortunately Stardust managed to grab onto the car. She slowly lifted the two vehicles up. De-in sighed in relief. Thankfully everyone was safe. As soon as the words left, he immediately lost strength. His heart seemed to stop beating. His whole body then collapsed downward. Luckily you managed to teleport in time. Your body hit the ground with a thud, landing in Ego Base. Subin and Seo-eun rushed out in a panic, shouting, De-in. Blood and other fluids were coming from his mouth and nose, his pupils clouded white, there was no sign of life. The two girls watched the scene through the glass, overwhelmed with worry and fear. Inside, De-in lay receiving treatment. They prayed silently, please open your eyes, De-in. Lee Haru was also standing outside the door, thinking for a long while. She took a deep breath. She gently wiped away a tear. Elsewhere, Ha-yeol stood dazed, staring up at the night sky. She carried a deep sorrow inside her, her thoughts fixed on Egotic, holding the newspaper in her hands. The articles about the two of them. She remembered his words, never show even the slightest hesitation, because then you and I will be finished. Just one moment of hesitation and your life will become a living hell. Even so, if he hadn't allowed me to retreat, I wouldn't have been able to get out here. She fell into contemplation, but that was clearly the mindset of someone convinced they could do it, as if he knew everything about her. The image of Egotic encouraging her came to mind, you can do it, step up and save them. Since he said that, I've been unable to stop thinking about it, even though he was the one who put them in danger. Meeting him again after so long, I was filled with a ton of questions. Are you really the villain? Are you really the bad guy? Egotic, who are you after all? Ha-Yul gently took my hand, but because of some strange emotion, in the end I couldn't say a word. The image of her and little Daein appeared. Then a scene of her desperately trying to grab the car. Please, reach for it. Suddenly the car was enveloped in energy. She startled as she realized its speed was decreasing. She looked up. It was Daein struggling to hold the car with her own strength. After saving the car she still couldn't stop wondering. Egotic really is. While lost in thought a voice called out, "Why are you sitting here alone?" I heard it was an attack with no casualties. Icicle stepped forward holding 2 cans of soda, her adorable little Shin Ha-Yul. Seeing her, Ha-Yul shouted happily, "Seola, thanks for coming." They shared a warm embrace. Seola replied, "What are you talking about? Of course I'd come, we're friends after all." Ha-Yul's face flushed as she felt warmth from her friend. They started drinking. Seola puffed her cheeks and gulped down each sip. She shouted with delight, "Ah, this is great, taking in the whole view of Seoul, spending a quiet night with my Ha-Yul." Suddenly she realized something. "Hey Ha-Yul, why are you still buried in work when you're off shift? Is it because of Egotic again?" "Forget that guy, even the president of the Hero Association is secretly pleased that the crime rate has dropped. Of course he would never admit it. Looking at his most recent attack, it seems he is no longer trying to target you." Ha-Yul turned to respond, "But Seola, can I tell you something?" Ha-Yul's gaze hardened. "From my point of view, maybe Egotic isn't a bad person." Moving into the ego base, a pair of feet opened the door and stepped inside. Lee Haru quietly watched Seo-eun lying on the floor. She gently pulled a blanket over Seo-eun so the girl wouldn't be cold. Her gaze shifted toward the side of the room where Daein was lying. Slowly she pushed the door open and stepped in. Daein still lay there with no sign of waking. Standing before Daein she felt a little doubtful. Should I really enter like this? Even if he seems much better now, what if he ends up like the others who try to exploit my power? What should I do? Daein's brow furrowed slightly. Lee Haru placed her hand on the glass to observe him more clearly. He doesn't even know who I am, yet he saved me. He treated me kindly without asking for anything in return. But he is in critical condition, right here in front of me. A tear fell from her eye. Can I really just let him die? I'm sorry, Daein, I'm just not brave enough. You're truly a good person, but if you knew about my power, I was afraid you would be like the others. She wiped away her weak tears. Looking at his battered body, she became determined to use her ability. This time I will be braver. The wounds were slowly being healed by her. Shortly after they had completely disappeared, Daein still lay there. Lee Haru gently stepped out. She didn't forget to look back. Thank you. In the end she also stepped outside, leaving Daein alone. Nearby, Daein woke up, quietly relieved. At last I can recruit a healer. He slowly sat up. His face was radiant with life. Lee Haru, thank you. Turning back to Ha-Yul, Seola's voice rang out. So let me be blunt. It's strange that Egotic's attacks never cause casualties except among the villains, and the call during that plane incident, something no one else could have known. And what about him catching that falling SUV this time? Ha-Yul answered with a kittenish expression, right. Seola chuckled wryly. Oh come on Ha-Yul, don't tell me you actually believe that conspiracy, that Egotic is a secret S-rank hero operating in the shadows. Ha-Yul's face darkened with anger. I shouldn't have told him everything. Ha-Yul turned away and replied, not about believing or not. I just mean it doesn't feel like a conspiracy theory anymore. Seola kept teasing. He just kidding, I'm joking. Calm down, little Ha-Yul. Anyway, you're right, there are a few things that don't add up. This caught Ha-Yul's attention, but then Seola continued, but he still does bad things, right? Even if no civilians were hurt, he still crossed the line. Ha-Yul hummed in agreement. That's true, but Seola began to counsel, so what's important is to treat him like a villain. Ha-Yul fell into thought. I think Egotic is aiming for something bigger. I still don't know what it is, but Seola's voice rose, cutting across Ha-Yul's train of thought. Miss Workaholic Shin Ha-Yul, don't bring up that guy with the cap anymore. Anyway, have you been interested in anyone lately? You should take a break and try dating. Ha-Yul said with disdain. Someone who's never dated wouldn't know how to meet anyone. Seola blushed awkwardly. It's just that my family is extremely strict about my private life. Okay, it's not that I can't date. The class A hero Icicle, real name Lee Seola, is the heir to a major conglomerate in Korea, Yuseong. Ha-Yul seized the chance to tease. Hey, you're cute when you're angry. Seola pouted in reply. What do you mean by that, really? The scene cuts to a prison somewhere. An inner gate slowly opens. An old man stepped in. He was an S-rank villain, Kim Seon-woo, the technical advisor for the Hanwha conglomerate. A white-haired young man spoke up. Well done, Professor. Kim Seon-woo was answered by 2 axe-wielding bodyguards. Skip the formalities. How's the progress right now? The young man replied, we've completed 56%, at this pace the project will be finished around September next year, Before he could finish his sentence, Kim Si-woo scolded him, "Damn it." He shouted angrily, "Too slow, I told you to have everything ready before winter, no excuses." He flinched slightly at that. Sitting in the car, he said softly, "Let's go." In his head he calculated silently, "Just wait. Before this winter ends, everything in the Republic of Korea will kneel before me, Professor Kim Si-woo." Cut to the Ego base. On the TV a news bulletin reports that Dr. Kim Si-woo, who was previously accused of concealing unethical human experiments, was released at around 7 this morning. He is expected to return to Hanwha Corporation's research facility. Dain's gaze hardened, her voice turned sly. "All right, the players are stepping out onto the field." Seo-eun, passing by and overhearing, also felt suspicious. What's with that tone? 3 months later, it was snowing outside. Chae-hyun shouted excitedly, "Snow!" Seo-eun behind shouted, "Hey, come back here, I was here first." They romped around. In the distance Subin and Haru were carrying a teapot to set on the table. They sat down. Subin took a sip. After drinking, her face brightened with feeling. "This is so pleasant." Haru beside her chimed in, "Yeah, it's really wonderful." From behind Dain called out, "Hey Seo-eun," causing the girl molding a snow duck to involuntarily turn around. He scolded, "Could you walk properly? What are those steps? You ruined the whole patch of snow." The snow had been beautiful just now, pristine and untouched. "Let us start playing." But before he could finish speaking a snowball flew into his face. The kids in the distance shouted excitedly, "Come here Mangostic, get in here." Dain, irritated, lightly brushed the snow from his face, and began to condense mana in his hands. Not letting the children stay excited for long, shortly after each of them got a snowball. His eyes lit up like a war god descending. He said, "You brats, come here, I will teach you manners." His body flew into the air, his eyes shone like a star behind as if preparing to use a very cool skill. A special skill, super speed frost. Seo-eun, shocked, shouted, "What on earth is that? That is cheating, Mangostic." Chae-hyun behind also joined in. "That move clearly exploits a loophole." The boy raised both hands and shouted that he surrendered. Dain happily agreed. Meanwhile Seo-eun turned to look at her teammate in utter shock. The face of Seo-eun went dark, both hands holding 2 snowballs ready to fight. A demonic voice from Dain rang out, "Seo-eun, are you ready?" The next moment the whole body of Seo-eun had turned into an adorably cute snowman. On this side Dain laughed loudly after winning. "Ah, so hungry, let us go eat something light." Chae-hyun happily followed, obeying. Eating cookies in winter is simply wonderful. They could not resist and shouted, "So delicious." They were only focused on eating and did not notice a white figure slowly approaching. Dain turned and said with a blank expression, "Can you ask Haru to bring a few more?" Before she could finish the sentence Seo-eun had hefted the huge snowball and slammed it into his head so hard his eyes seemed about to pop out. Seeing him lying there like a lump of meat, Seo-eun was a little frightened. "Mangostic is finished. Was that too rough?" she shouted. "Are you okay?" The girl anxiously shook him and called, "Dain." Haru carrying out the cake was a bit surprised to see that. She spoke up, "He is laughing over there. The pretending is too obvious." Only then did Dain turn and mimic her words. With his teasing face he continued, "So touching." Seo-eun really worried about him. The girl at this moment both embarrassed and angry blushed. Seconds later another brawl broke out. Seo-eun lugged a giant snowball with 2 cups on top that looked like a shrimp head chasing Dain. He ran while talking back, but it really hurt. The girl didn't believe him and snapped, "Shut up." Dain began to wonder. Over the past 3 months we had relaxed and enjoyed the winter. I once thought about staging another terror attack, but Stardust is now as strong as she was in her 3rd year of the original timeline, so it's no longer necessary. Actually the only change is that Haru has started smiling more. Perhaps she has finally thawed a little and is opening up to us bit by bit. Oh, and public opinion about me has also turned. Everyone pinned the blame for the Seoul Bridge collapse on Egotic. My reputation has completely fallen apart. I mean 1.2 million people who received my payments obviously had to find someone to blame. It was Egotic who orchestrated that bizarre terror plot. That's right, he manipulated everything and even called us accomplices. Convenient, isn't it? After all, becoming the villain was my original goal. Now we only have to wait for Black Disaster to appear. Back in the present Seo-eun's voice rang out, "Got you." The girl had grabbed Dain by the hair. A triumphant smile blossomed on the girl's lips. "I won." The next second she turned into a snowman again. Dain ran off while Chae-hyun pointed and laughed with delight. The 2 women had to laugh at the sight. Subin spoke up, "What is that pitiful shriek?" Haru beside him warned, "You'll get hurt if you keep doing those stunts." Dain, exhausted, slumped into a chair and complained, "Ugh, I'm starving. What should we eat tonight? We've played a lot. Or should we do a barbecue?" Chae-hyun ran after them chiming in, "Ooh great, hurry inside. It's freezing out here." Haru agreed, "But first we have to call Seo-eun. She must be angry somewhere right now." Cut to the red alarm bells blaring loudly. Inside the laboratory, Cracks began to form and people clutched their heads and ran. Kim Se-in-woo sat before the wreckage shouting, it can't be like this, damn it, where, everything has disappeared. Someone beside him stepped forward to advise, Doctor, you must leave here at once, but he wouldn't listen. He barked back, let me go, how could I abandon my life's work? Suddenly he froze when he heard a strange sound. A hideous monster appeared. The others dragged him away pleading, please sir, doctor, we have to run quickly. Being pulled away he still turned back to look, no, it can't be. Behemoth, how is test subject number 1, it was only a prototype yet it has consciousness. The scene cuts to some building. The staff are all in a panic. Explosions erupt everywhere. Stardust darted away as if flying. Opening the door to a room, Stardust asked Mr. President what was happening. He cried, pointing at the screen, urgent, Stardust, look. On the screen was the image of a monster destroying the houses around. He asked, where did that terrifying thing come from? Witnessing this, Stardust also froze for a moment. Outside, people were shouting and running as the monster attacked. Each strike of its tentacle caused an explosion. The man in the car panicked as he saw something flying toward him. Fortunately he managed to pull his hand free in time. Still worried about his car, he shouted, my car. The man next to him yelled, what good is the car now, run. The monster kept ravaging everything while people stood helpless. The father and son could only cling to each other and pray to God. Suddenly the monster leaped up. On this side Stardust dashed off while calling back, I will depart immediately. The president seeing this shouted, calm down Stardust, you cannot single-handedly confront something that big. Hearing that she angrily turned and snapped, I will not sit idly by and watch it rampage like that, go ahead and sit there eating popcorn, Mr. President. He hearing that froze, what did you say? Suddenly a scream made Stardust turn around. The monster from earlier had jumped into the water. Gradually its body disappeared into the water. They stood there frozen where they were when they saw that. The president, his face darkening, spoke again, Stardust, I want a full report on my desk by tomorrow morning. What is this popcorn nonsense? You only know how to say sorry. The scene shifts, Do-in is now eating popcorn. On a quiet night, under the glow of a full moon, the gentle sound of the wind echoes through the city. Inside her apartment, the A-class hero, Stardust, clicks through web pages on her computer. She's scrolling through comments about the infamous villain, Egotic. The public seems confused, with some people even questioning if he's truly a villain at all. Her eyes land on a popular post titled, a must-read for anyone who still thinks Egotic is a villain. The post praises him, calling him by the fan nickname, Mangostic, for saving Korea from the recent black disaster. Stardust nibbles on a snack, a wry smile on her face as she puts the pieces together. So this is how it turned out, she muses to herself. She realizes that if Egotic hadn't collapsed the bridge in what seemed like a terrorist act, no hero in Korea would have been able to stop the monster. The revelation leaves her feeling uneasy, thinking, this can't be right. Troubled by this new understanding, Stardust heads out for a walk in the dead of night. Her internal conflict rages. Despite his actions, she holds on to her conviction, he's a villain and I'm a hero. She breaks into a run, her resolve hardening. No matter the complexities, she reaffirms her duty, even if I have to protect, I'll be the one to protect. As she steels her determination, a news broadcast reveals a shocking truth to the nation. The recent black disaster was no random event, it was caused by experiments from a top conglomerate, the Hanwha Group, which has since collapsed overnight. The report continues, stating there's no trace of human presence at the Hanwha Group building. The chairman, the lead scientist Dr. Kim Se-in-woo, and his entire research team have vanished without a trace. Elsewhere, the villain Egotic, whose real name is Kim Do-in, is having a celebratory dinner with his 3 teammates. Hearing the news of Hanwha Group's downfall, he cheers, woohoo, so this is how it ends up. His companion, a fiery girl with orange hair, erupts in rage, serves them right, those bastards, she yells, wishing death upon the corrupt officials. Not yet, Kim Do-in says, his tone suddenly serious, we need to catch every last one of those runners. His other 2 teammates, Seo-eun and a brown-haired girl, share the sentiment, comically fantasizing about hunting down the remaining Hanwha members. But Kim Do-in just smiles cheerfully, waving his chopsticks. Don't worry too much, he says, full of confidence, they'll crawl out on their own soon enough. More importantly, he continues, can everyone gather here? The sudden shift makes his team nervous. Seo-eun immediately gets a bad feeling, while her friend cautiously asks, what are you planning to do this time? Kim Do-in dramatically unrolls a massive blueprint, revealing his next target. His teammates stare in disbelief, exclaiming, Hanwha Group's underground lab. The group erupts in chaos, as Seo-eun has a minor panic attack. the others demand to know what's so important about the lab that warrants such a risky mission. Ignoring their frantic questions, Kim Do-in calmly takes a red marker and circles a specific location on the blueprint, Sector B9. With a wide, unnerving grin, he finally reveals why they're going there. Deep within that lab, he declares, lies something absolutely insane. He explains that the insane thing is a project codenamed Behemoth, an army of artificial superhumans, all connected to a single monstrous entity. It was designed to be the ultimate weapon, composed of a miraculous material capable of withstanding a nuclear blast and even nullifying the powers of the S-class hero, Shadow Walker. He reveals that the black disaster that Egotic helped stop was merely a prototype. If the true Behemoth had been completed, its power would have been unimaginable. Even Kim Do-in himself seems taken aback by the sheer scale of it all, letting out a stunned huh. His entire team is left speechless and wide-eyed. Seo-eun looks around at her frozen companions, wondering why everyone is suddenly so quiet. The shock quickly turns into excitement for Seo-eun. Her eyes glint as she realizes the danger means a chance to get stronger. Asking if it's time to wreck her body again, Kim Do-in playfully retorts that a few more holes in her stomach might look good on her. Seo-eun explodes, getting right in his face. Are you kidding me right now? She screams, demanding a power-up for herself. The meeting immediately devolves into chaos as Seo-eun unleashes a flurry of attacks. Kim Do-in dodges and yells, while their other teammates try and fail to de-escalate the situation, begging them both to stop. While dodging the playful assault, Kim Do-in recalls a key detail from the original story. The Hero Association never took action. Based on that, he dismisses the risk. Nothing serious will happen, right? But he was wrong. At that very moment, inside the towering headquarters of the Korea Superhuman Association, the situation was already escalating. Inside the association headquarters, an emergency meeting is underway. An official reports that multiple life signs have been detected in the buried lab. The monsters Hanun Group was creating are still alive. A high-ranking official sitting at the head of the table asks for a report from one of their top heroes, Shadow Walker. The hero, Shadow Walker, appears on screen. He reports that he attempted to infiltrate the lab the previous night, but his shadow-based powers were completely neutralized by a strange wavelength emitted from the site. The official turns to their remaining option. You heard that. Support will be difficult. Are you still going? Stardust. Below, the hero Stardust hovers over the massive, dark pit. Without a hint of hesitation, Stardust looks up and gives her answer. Yes. With her confirmation, the official formally approves the dangerous solo mission. Wreathed in a brilliant golden aura, Stardust dives headfirst into the darkness of the collapsed lab. At the same time, another figure appears at the edge of the crater. It is Kim Do-in, now in his full villain persona as Egotic, complete with his signature mask and top hat. Speaking to his team remotely, he admits, it's making me a bit nervous since it wasn't planned. From their base, Seo-eun immediately teases him, asking if he wants to come back already. He scoffs, putting on a brave face for his dream. Man, Kim Do-in, like I'd be scared of some monsters, he boasts. Back at the base, his teammates just roll their eyes at his antics. But beneath the teasing, their smiles show genuine concern. Be careful, they say in unison, seeing him off as he prepares to go live. And with a flourish of purple energy, Kim Do-in begins his broadcast. Nice to meet you, everyone, this is Egotic. In an instant, 10,000 viewers flood his stream, the chat exploding with questions. He playfully asks if they're curious about today's terrorism, before clarifying that today is simply an exploration. He then reveals his location, the secret underground lab of the now-defunct Hanun Group. Feigning curiosity, he invites his massive audience to discover the lab's sinister secrets alongside him. Back at the Hero Association, the officials are watching the stream in horror. They realize that the nation's most famous villain is now in the exact same location as their top hero, Stardust. The association head frantically tries to contact her, but there's no signal. He realizes with dread, she's gone deep enough that radio signals can't reach anymore. An official slams his fist down in fury. Damn it, who does Egotic think he is, suddenly barging in there? This is insane. The senior official, however, remains oddly calm. He turns to his bewildered assistant and gives an unexpected order. Assistant, go get some popcorn, half caramel, half salt. Meanwhile, Egotic takes his first steps into the dark, abandoned laboratory, using a small drone as a floating flashlight. The creepy atmosphere immediately gets to him as he wonders what horrors took place there. He looks around, his masked face betraying a sense of genuine unease at the eerie green glow of the forsaken test chambers. As his audience comments on the scary atmosphere, Egotic quickly puts his showman persona back on. Would I, the one who made all of Korea tremble, be scared by mere traces of experiments like this? He boasts. His boast is immediately cut short by a loud, metallic clang echoing through the hall, making him jump in fright. Letting out a terrified scream, he instantly summons an arsenal of glowing blue guns. ready to obliterate whatever made the noise. But the source of the terrifying sound is revealed to be a small, fluffy white cat, peeking innocently from behind a corner. Egotic lets out a huge sigh of relief, his floating gun still aimed at the tiny creature. What? It's just a cat, right? He stammers, trying to regain his composure. His relief quickly turns to suspicion. In a sealed-off, underground lab where everyone has vanished, the random appearance of a live cat is more than a little strange. His suspicion proves correct as the cat begins to distort, its body twisting and contorting in an unnatural way. Egotic stands his ground as sinister red tendrils begin to snake across the floor, heralding the arrival of a much greater threat. The cute animal is gone, replaced by a grotesque monster with glowing red eyes, perched atop a writhing mass of flesh. Egotic turns, his face a mask of pure shock as he finally comprehends the horrifying creature before him. With its transformation complete, the monster reveals a grotesque, mask-like face and throws itself directly at the terrified streamer. The monster shrieks, its massive jaws opening wide as it closes in on Egotic. Screaming in pure terror, Egotic instinctively opens fire, unleashing a panic barrage of bullets at the creature. Elsewhere in the dark laboratory, Stardust freezes, the distinct sound of rapid gunfire echoes through the desolate halls, telling her she is not alone. In the chaos, Dain remembered the moment before carrying out the plan. He and Seo-eun were lying on the bed, and she had nagged that he shouldn't have come here. He himself regretted it deeply and wished he could be stronger. Back in the present, Dain panicked intensely. He blamed himself for not listening to Seo-eun and thought he should have stayed home to practice teleportation instead. He hadn't expected increasing his power to be so difficult. At that moment, a grotesque monster full of jagged mouths lunged straight at him, its horrific cries echoing down the dark corridor. Dain quickly regained his composure. No, regretting now would do no good, he told himself, and used his powers to create guns from thin air, ready to fight. The face behind the mask hardened with determination. At this point he would have to take the risk. Dain charged into battle, directing his weapons to attack the monsters. He shouted, "If I'm here I have to catch the behemoth before I leave." He moved with extreme agility, dodging the enemy's attacks by a hair's breadth. During the fight, Dain didn't forget to raise his camera. He seemed intent on recording every moment even in this life-or-death situation. Then the giant behemoth appeared right before him. Dain showed no hesitation, reached out toward it and shouted, "Die." Suddenly, a massive beam of energy came from somewhere and struck the behemoth, knocking Dain backward. The creature roared in unbearable pain as the energy burned it, its body beginning to disintegrate. The explosion was so powerful it shook and collapsed the entire chamber. Dain fell to the ground, stunned by the scene before him. In the chaos, the weapons Dain had created rained down and vanished from the floor. Sensing danger, Dain fled in haste. He panicked, realizing he had left behind both his camera and guns in the chaos and had no idea how deep this place extended. He tried to contact his teammates via his communicator. "All right, Seo-eun, can you hear me?" But all that answered was static interference. The signal couldn't get through here. Dain began to feel real fear, though he still tried to act tough and claim he was only a little scared. Suddenly his ear twitched. A strange sound had just sounded, indicating someone else was nearby. Another explosion even larger than before occurred at the end of the corridor. Stardust stood at the epicenter of the blast. Dain hurriedly raised his hand to shield himself. When the light subsided, the image of Stardust appeared, heat radiating from her fist. Dain felt a strangely familiar sensation. Dain was stunned, unable to believe his eyes. The one who had saved him was the S-rank heroine he had always wanted to encounter. "Stardust," he uttered. Stardust, exuding an aura of power, turned and also recognized the familiar villain, her blue eyes glinting sharply. Egotic. The two faced each other in the ruined corridor. Stardust asked coldly, "What are you doing here?" Dain, a little flustered, stammered back, "Stardust, if I may ask, what are you doing here?" "I am a hero," Stardust replied decisively, "so it's no surprise that I'm cleaning up this place, is it?" Dain forced a smile. Yes, I suppose not," but inside he was cheering. Perfect timing, his plan seemed to be going as intended. Stardust smiled menacingly. To her this was indeed an unexpected harvest. Contrary to her fearsome presence, Dain was inwardly ecstatic. He couldn't believe Stardust was smiling at him. She warned, "If you come with me quietly it won't be too painful," but Dain seemed not to understand the threat. He was simply entranced by her beauty. Without saying more, Stardust launched her attack. Dain hurriedly used his power to barely dodge the blow. The fight between the two officially began. Stardust kept unleashing powerful strikes. Dain could only struggle to evade. His defensive abilities were gradually being overwhelmed. He screamed in despair as the heroine gave him not a second to breathe. Knowing he couldn't hold out, Dain hastily raised his hand to signal a stop. "Wait, stop," he shouted, trying to halt Stardust's next attack. Pinned to the wall, Dain began his plan. He cried out in panic, "I know, in your eyes I'm just a villain, but inside Dain is screaming like crazy. What should I do? Dain began to persuade Stardust. He pointed to the ruined surroundings and said, look around, this place is extremely dangerous, and you don't even know where this is, right? How about we form a temporary alliance until we can descend to the deeper levels? Stardust looked skeptical. She crossed her arms and asked back, why don't you tell me why you are here first? Dain stammered an answer, saying it was out of curiosity for knowledge. Stardust explained that she had come to investigate the Hanun Corporation, the ones who caused the horrific black disaster before. She suspected they were plotting something even more terrible here. After a moment of silence, Stardust curled her lip in a peculiar smile. All right, she said. Dain was completely surprised by her answer. Stardust declared, then form the alliance. Come with me. She admitted she was struggling to deal with the monsters alone and Dain might help. Then she turned and walked away, leaving Dain still dazed. Dain couldn't believe what had happened. He had just blurted out an offer not expecting Stardust to actually agree. The situation unfolded in an unforeseeable way. Both had their own calculations. Stardust thought that if forced, Egotic might flee, so it was better to keep him close for monitoring. Meanwhile Dain was delighted the events were going as he wished and hoped to get answers about Stardust. Stardust began rifling through the drawers nearby, searching for clues about Hanun Corporation's activities. Dain sneaked along behind, curiously peeking over her shoulder to see what she was doing. He looked more like a fanatic fan than an ally. He got too close, making Stardust extremely uncomfortable. Stardust suddenly spun around and shouted in Dain's face, you villain, what are you sneaking around for? This is classified material, get out. Dain flinched, hurried back and stammered apologies. Dain was so scared he shrank back, sweat pouring down. He thought to himself, this is terrifying. However, shortly after, Dain quickly regained his composure. It seemed he had another idea. In Dain's mind, the image of Stardust suddenly became radiant and gentle. He imagined them together in a garden of white lilies. Dain's face flushed with delight. He thought to himself, I love this so much. Being alongside his idol was wonderful. The two continued deeper into the base, Stardust leading easily in front. Dain followed behind, wondering, has her clairvoyance developed to this level? They stopped before a metal door. On it a sign read, Superpower Neutralization Room. Dain read the sign aloud, Superpower Neutralization Room. Stardust suddenly called his name and stood so close it made him a little flustered. Yes, he replied, sensing something amiss. Without hesitation, Stardust pointed at the door and ordered decisively, go inside. Dain was utterly shocked. Me, he stammered, unable to believe she would use him to test such a dangerous room. Though he felt treated like a guinea pig, Dain pretended to agree cheerfully, but Stardust gave him no chance to act. She shoved him inside. Dain staggered into the pitch-black room, not knowing what awaited him ahead. No sooner had he stepped in than Stardust slammed the door shut, trapping him inside. Immediately, Dain sensed something was wrong. His hat fell to the floor. He tried to use his powers but nothing happened. He realized in shock, my telekinesis doesn't work, and neither does teleportation. Dain stood motionless in the silent room, bathed in strange red light. For the first time he felt utterly powerless. The door opened and Stardust stepped in. Dain turned, both astonished and curious. It really doesn't work, is that so? What's the principle behind this thing? Dain suddenly froze, staring at Stardust in horror. Stardust, using only her bare hand, punched the metal wall of the room with a thunderous blow, cracking it open. She stood there calmly, as if what she had done were nothing at all. Stardust explained coldly that she was merely testing whether the room truly neutralized powers. Dain snapped back in anger, it really works. Even as a villain I don't lie about things like this. Dain's inner world was a mess. He admired Stardust's extraordinary strength while fearing her recklessness. His emotions rose and fell like a roller coaster. Suddenly an alarm blared. Red warning lights began flashing continuously. Thick steel doors started slamming shut, sealing off every exit. Both were shocked and had no time to react. They looked at the sealed doors and realized they had been trapped. Both Dain and Stardust sensed the grave danger of the situation. They were locked in a confined space where all superpowers were disabled. Dain realized the ironic scenario, a hero and a villain, two adults locked together. He was living out a classic plotline. Not wanting to disappoint her opponent, Choi Si-hee poured all her strength inward. Blue bolts of lightning coalesced around her body, growing larger, a sign of a devastating attack. Instantly, she unleashed a massive thunderbolt, firing it straight at the haughty Dain standing there. However, her lightning strike was easily intercepted and completely neutralized by Kim Dain's red energy filaments. The two energy streams collided, producing a horrific explosion that obliterated everything around them. When the smoke cleared, Kim Dain still stood unscathed. He let out a savage laugh, taunting Choi Si-hee that this was all the power she had. Choi Si-hee ground her teeth in rage, but deep down she felt a strange sense of release. It was the first time she had fought without holding back. Despite her fury, she had to admit the feeling was exhilarating. Before leaving, Kim Do-in made an offer, saying it would be valid until next week and urging Choi Si-hee to think it over carefully. Choi Si-hee was stunned and hadn't yet understood what was happening when Kim Do-in prepared to vanish. She hurriedly called after him, but it was too late. Kim Do-in disappeared before her eyes, leaving Choi Si-hee alone amid the rubble. She looked down at her hand, sparks still flickered from the battle. Exhausted and disoriented, she couldn't deny that the fight had been intensely satisfying. The scene shifted elsewhere. Kim Do-in, in his usual attire, appeared utterly pained and desperate. Lee Soo-bin beside him expressed regret, apologized, and suggested that perhaps their relationship should end here. Kim Do-in snapped angrily at Seo-eun, demanding to know how she could do this to him after all he'd done for her. Seo-eun replied with a sly smile and a suggestive farewell. It turned out to be just a performance while they played billionaire chess. Kim Do-in screamed in bitter defeat, while Seo-eun laughed triumphantly. Apparently Kim Do-in had gone bankrupt in the game. Seo-eun mercilessly mocked his pathetic state. As the loser, Kim Do-in was punished with 3 days of washing a mountain of dishes for a 5-person household. While Kim Do-in trudged off to accept his punishment, Seo-eun reminded him it had been 3 days since they discussed recruiting new members. She wondered why he was still idling about, and he replied indifferently. Seo-eun watched him with suspicion, unsure of what Kim Do-in was plotting. Kim Do-in slid on his gloves and smiled smugly. He was certain the bait he'd set long ago had finally taken the hook. Cut to Choi Si-hee's everyday life. She was working at a cafe, listlessly taking customers' orders with a vacant expression. Fatigue was written on her face. She even accidentally spilled coffee while working. It seemed everyday life was draining her completely. The kind manager's sister noticed Choi Si-hee's weariness and advised her to step outside and rest for a while. Si-hee thanked her sheepishly and accepted. She wearily collapsed onto a bench outside. During her break, Choi Si-hee took out her phone. Her hand trembled as she searched for information about someone. She was curious about Egotic, the person everyone kept mentioning. She hadn't realized he was such a formidable figure, the most influential villain in Korea, with his own fan cafe and more fame than most heroes. But what stunned her most was that Egotic's terrorist attacks caused no civilian casualties, only property damage. The death toll was always 0. This made Choi Si-hee wonder, could he really be a good person? The story then returns to introduce her identity, a user of electrical powers who had never truly unleashed her full strength until she met Egotic. The reason was that her parents detested people with superpowers and had tightly controlled Si-hee's abilities since she was a child. That repression was like an overcharged battery. Tension building over time had turned into destructive impulsiveness, a trait unique to Si-hee. Amid the chaotic thoughts, Egotic's offer echoed in her mind, urging her to think carefully. She returned to work. 4 days had passed since Do-in's proposal. She kept working day after day, day 5, then day 6. At that moment, she froze. A name flashed in her head, Egotic. Her expression instantly shifted from casual to sheer terror. Finally, it was the 7th day, 1 week since their meeting. That night, Choi Si-hee stood alone in a dark alley, seemingly waiting for someone. She bowed her head, her face set with determination, as if she had made an important decision. Suddenly she heard a sound. She looked up and, thrilled, called out, "Ego." But it was only a stray cat. It flinched, puffed up, and let out a fierce yowl. The cat quickly bolted back into the darkness. Choi Si-hee blushed at her mistake. She clenched her fists, whispered Egotic's name in frustration and anticipation. At that moment, Egotic actually appeared behind her and asked if she had decided about his offer. After a pause, Choi Si-hee exhaled and replied firmly, "I'll do it." Egotic couldn't hide his delight. Choi Si-hee grasped his hand, reiterating that she would do anything he asked. She blushed with excitement and begged, "Crazier stuff or whatever, please let me wreck something, hurry up." Do-in, sweating a bit at this girl, awkwardly replied, "Oh, yes, yes." Not making her wait, Egotic immediately teleported, preparing to take her to a special place. The place they arrived at was Ego Base, Do-in's secret headquarters. Upon arrival, Choi Si-hee was introduced by Egotic to the members of his group. Egotic formally announced Choi Si-hee as the family's new member. Taken aback by the unexpected welcome, she awkwardly gave her name. Everyone cheerfully reintroduced themselves. Soo-bin stood in the middle waving and said, "Nice to meet you, I'm Lee Soo-bin." Haru, in a school uniform, politely added, "Hello, I'm Lo Haru." In contrast to the warm greetings, Seo-eun looked displeased and muttered, "Another girl?" Seeing this, Do-in helplessly introduced her, "This girl's name is Seo-eun." After introducing everyone, Egotic turned to Si-hee and said, "As for me." He slowly removed his mask. He smiled and revealed his true identity, "I'm Kim Do-in." Choi Si-hee was utterly stunned. In her mind appeared the image of a familiar young man sitting and drinking at the cafe where she worked. She realized with shock that Egotic was the handsome guy who had come to her cafe last week. The sudden revelation fell over the room like silence. Kim Do-in was bewildered, Choi Si-hee embarrassed, and the other members were speechless. Too shocked and mortified to control herself, Choi Si-hee's power surged uncontrollably. A massive burst of electricity erupted from her body. The electrical surge was so strong it knocked out all power in Egotic's high-tech base, plunging everything into darkness. In the darkness, the group panicked. Han Seo-eun guessed that Si-hee's electricity had caused the outage. Lee Subin felt a tingling sensation, while Lee Haru could only marvel at this incredible power. Everyone was stunned when a light shone in. The beam hit Choi Si-hee directly, forcing her to cover her eyes with her hand. Amid the chaos, Chae-hyun appeared at the door holding a flashlight. The boy irritably asked what everyone was doing and demanded they turn the lights back on so he could finish his homework. Outside, the street was shown to be plunged into darkness as well. Cut to Ha-yeol, who was reading something on her computer. She had just received a notification that her membership level on Egotic's fan cafe had been upgraded. She raked her hands through her hair and slumped face first onto the desk in helplessness. Blushing with embarrassment at Icicle's teasing, Ha-yeol thought, I've been auto-promoted on Mango Stick's fan cafe, an elite member, truly elite, and told herself she should just go to sleep. She then jumped into bed and tossed and turned, lost in thought. Angrily clutching her hand in concern for Do-in, she wondered to herself, is that guy okay? The image of Do-in resurfaced in her mind along with the words, you owe me a favor earlier. Ha-yeol's expression fell. She anxiously called out Egotic's name, as if some unseen connection existed between them. After the chaotic incident, the warehouse door swung open. The group stared at the open box. Choi Si-hee felt guilty and apologized to everyone, but Seo-eun said it was fine, she was bored anyway. Amid that atmosphere, Kim Do-in suddenly placed a hand on Choi Si-hee's shoulder. He whispered in her ear, suggesting she go somewhere alone with him. Choi Si-hee was taken aback by the unexpected proposal. She quietly followed behind Kim Do-in. The two split from the group and moved into a quieter area. They headed toward a large, luxurious mansion hidden in the stillness of the night. A flicker of worry and uncertainty crossed Choi Si-hee's face as she continued to follow him. Kim Do-in led her to a wide courtyard. He turned, opened his arms, and said, okay, there's no one here now. Just the two of us. She looked at him and asked, so what? With a teasing smile, he urged her, go on. Do whatever you want. You want to do it, don't you? With all that power of yours. Choi Si-hee stared at him with determined eyes, seemingly ready for what was about to happen. She let out a shout and electric energy began to surge violently around her. She stared at him and said, so you dodge everything yourself? Ego. Kim Do-in. Even when called by his real name, Kim Do-in remained completely calm, unfazed. Instantly, Choi Si-hee unleashed all the pent-up power inside her, while Do-in slowly activated his ability, emitting a purple glow. Her eyes shone brilliantly, revealing the astonishing power being released. Facing the massive surge, Kim Do-in simply used his teleportation ability to avoid the attack. He laughed with delight, clearly impressed and pleased by the power she displayed. Choi Si-hee's power created a spectacular scene, an electrical storm that swallowed everything around it. After expending all her strength, Choi Si-hee knelt on the shattered ground, panting. She was completely exhausted. Kim Do-in stepped closer. Choi Si-hee looked up and asked, your acts of terror don't hurt other people, right? He replied casually, of course. I'm a pacifist, after all. She scoffed, clearly not believing him. Nonsense, not harming others automatically makes it nonviolent? Then she abruptly changed the subject and asked his age. Kim Do-in theatrically counted on his fingers. Let's see, I'm 22, no, I'm 23 this year. Choi Si-hee puffed her cheeks in annoyance. What, we're the same age? Didn't you look me up before coming here? So why are you speaking so formally? She smiled, offered him a bottle of water, and suggested, then dropped the honorifics. Kim Do-in agreed and took her hand, sealing the agreement. Amid the ruins caused by her own power, Kim Do-in formally welcomed her to join. Welcome to Team EGO. Choi Si-hee was unimpressed by the name Kim Do-in chose. Team Ego? What the hell is that? Is your naming taste really that bad? A month passed. Choi Si-hee, now a member of Team EGO, was in a special training session with Kim Do-in. He coached her as she practiced planting her feet, right. Now imagine wrapping electricity around your feet and shooting it into the ground. She tried to follow, but the unstable current threw her off balance and she toppled over. Kim Do-in flinched and moved aside when she fell to the ground right next to him. Just then, Seo-eun walked out of the house, yawning, and asked, "Ow, it's early, what are you two doing?" Kim Do-in explained, "It's special training. She'll face Stardust in the next attack." Meanwhile, Choi Si-hee remained sprawled on the ground and skeptically asked, "Hey, are you sure this will work?" Kim Do-in began to feel uneasy too. He muttered, "That's strange." Then he suddenly remembered something important. "Right!" he exclaimed. He eagerly explained again, "It's like wrapping electricity around your feet and shooting it into the ground, got it? Got it?" But Choi Si-hee still looked vague. "Around my feet? I'm not so sure." After a moment of surprise, Choi Si-hee seemed to grasp the key point, and she succeeded. A steady current around her feet kept her hovering in the air. Kim Do-in declared satisfied, "All right. That's enough for today." Behind them, Seo-eun cheered in excitement. At the end of the session, Seo-eun happily brought water to Choi Si-hee. "Here you go, your water." Choi Si-hee smiled, took it, and thanked her. She drained the whole bottle in one go, sweat-drenched after the grueling practice. Noticing Kim Do-in's stare, Choi Si-hee turned and asked, "What are you looking at?" Kim Do-in pinched his nose and said, "Go take a shower. You smell like sweat." His remark immediately set Choi Si-hee off. She shouted back angrily, "Of course I'm sweating. I was training." The fury of an S-rank talent is not something you want to face. She hurled the water bottle straight at Kim Do-in's face. Kim Do-in panicked, a thought flashed through his head. Si-hee, is she about to say, "Deal with it," to me? Contrary to his fear, Choi Si-hee was clearly delighted. She laughed and taunted, "Whoa, come at me then." Watching their banter, Seo-eun just sighed in exasperation. "Ha. I wish they could act their age." The night before the operation, the team was intensely focused, on a game. Han Seo-eun shouted, "Hey, 9 o'clock. Go to 9 o'clock. The atmosphere was tense and chaotic. Someone was shouting to press button A, another was yelling to fire now. Choi Si-hee, holding the controller, was confused and didn't know what to do amid the conflicting commands. Suddenly a noise made all three of them show clear expressions of alarm. The screen went dark. Kim Do-in shouted for them to put the controllers down, while Seo-eun yelled at him to turn the lights on. Lee Soo-bin entered, and saw the three of them huddled under the dim lamp planning for the next day. The noisy gaming vibe was gone, the mood had turned serious. Seeing the team still awake as dawn approached, she couldn't help but sigh. The terrorist event is today and you stayed up all night. I guess everyone's excited since it's been a while. At Lee Soo-bin's reminder, the group broke out in a cold sweat. She gently said, "You've all worked very hard." Tension peaked when Lee Soo-bin mentioned the name of this terrorist plan, Red DA. Red Edition 2. She beamed and suggested, "Instead of this, how about everyone go to sleep right now?" Her smile terrified the other three. Hearing that, the group hurried back to their rooms. Choi Si-hee awkwardly said goodnight, and Seo-eun also said she needed to sleep to prepare for tomorrow. As Kim Do-in was about to leave, Lee Soo-bin called him back sharply with a cold expression, "Do-in, stay." From afar, Choi Si-hee and Seo-eun whispered to each other, "Soo-bin is scary when she's angry." Kim Do-in could only bow apologetically. The next morning, an emergency alert was broadcast everywhere. A villain's terrorist attack occurred in Seoul. Notably, all civilians within a 250 m radius had been evacuated with no casualties. And then the question was asked, where is the hero Stardust? Stardust was on her way to the scene. She hurtled down from the sky at breakneck speed. At the center of the attack, amid the rubble, Choi Si-hee looked up at Stardust as she approached. Choi Si-hee, wearing her new villain outfit, perched on a pile of debris and greeted sarcastically, "Hello, Stardust?" Choi Si-hee's villain alias was Electra. Stardust landed, eyeing Electra with a cold, wary stare. Stardust commanded, "Villain, stop this attack and surrender. If you refuse, I will use force to subdue you." Hearing that, Electra only smirked as sparks began to flicker from her hands. "Surrender?" she shouted, "No way." And unleashed a powerful bolt of electricity at Stardust. Stardust was taken by surprise by the preemptive strike. With a confident smile and eyes blazing with power, Electra declared, "My name is Electra. I'm here for him, to face you." The battle between the two officially began. The scene flashes back to a week before Electra's attack. Do-in is sitting in the park with Electra. She wonders why they have to train when it ended yesterday, and Dain replies that he hasn't taught her the finishing move yet. Dain proudly introduces the new move he named the Thunder Punch. Electra hears it and thinks the name is terrible, mocking Dain's naming talent as hopeless, unaware that the person who actually named it was none other than Electra herself, which infuriates Dain. Dain begins instructing. Instead of projecting the electricity outward, imagine rolling it into your palm, clenching it tight, then throwing a punch. Electra follows his guidance, focusing her will into her fist and concentrating all the electrical energy to its maximum limit. A massive surge of electrical energy erupts from Electra's hand, producing a terrifying explosion. She launches the punch forward, its force flattening an entire wide swath of land. Dain watches the result from a distance and asks Electra how she feels about the Thunder Punch. Electra can only exclaim that it's truly terrifying. And so, during the remaining week before the attack, the two focus exclusively on training this move. Dain teases her, telling her to try giving Stardust a taste of it. The remark stirs Electra a bit. She thinks he's being cruel. Dain then puts on a mock-serious act, claiming he's a villain with his own suffering, and Electra is left speechless at him. Back in the present, Electra is laughing maniacally, her whole body wrapped in powerful electricity as she wonders if an A-ranked hero's strength is really only this much. Opposite her, Stardust struggles to withstand Electra's barrage of attacks. She's continuously being pushed backward. Still, Stardust tries to hold a defense, waiting for an opening to counterattack. Meanwhile, Dain sits comfortably in a safe spot, watching the fight through binoculars while chewing on popcorn. He treats it like a free show. Stardust grits her teeth as powerful jolts of electricity keep shocking her body. Stardust realizes that to get close to Electra she must endure these brutal electric shocks, and Electra finds it amusing that Stardust can push past that threshold. If so, an immense concentration of energy begins to gather at Electra's feet. Electra screams, "How about this move?" then stomps hard on the ground. A powerful electric strike then slams into Stardust, forcing her to brace herself as the shockwave from the attack shatters everything around them. Electra realizes defeating her is easier than she expected, excitement showing on Electra's face. From within the field of electricity, a pair of legs slowly steps out. Stardust's entire body radiates a brilliant golden energy. This is the form she takes when using her full power. Electra watches in astonishment and a bit of fear as Stardust slowly advances. Stardust stands before Electra, the strong energy enveloping her, and Electra quickly moves away so Stardust can't close in. After landing, Electra begins gasping for breath from exertion. Stardust charges forward, aiming to end the fight quickly. Electra looks at Stardust, thinking that Stardust truly is a monster. Could it be that all this time Dain has been playing around with an opponent like this? Dain in the distance also notices that Stardust seems to be gradually adapting to Electra's attacks. Another thought crosses Dain's mind. The reason he'd gone all out to power up Seihi, it was to increase Stardust's endurance. He wanted Stardust to become stronger through battles like this. Compared to the trials she faced in the original story, this level was nothing. But Electra hadn't given up. She forced herself up and continued to use her power. Stardust spoke up, ordering Electra to surrender, promising she would be taken into custody without injury. Electra was stunned to hear that. Electra shouted angrily because Stardust dared to belittle her. On the other side, Stardust understood the implication and replied, "You brought this on yourself." Immediately after, Stardust burst forward at full power. Electra readied her finishing move as well, the Thunder Punch. The two forces collided, creating a cataclysmic explosion that warped the space between them. The shockwave from the battle shattered everything. Dain, watching from afar, couldn't help but exclaim, deeply impressed by the power of the two. Moments later he used his ability to teleport elsewhere. Dain landed on the balcony of a house far from the attack site. He couldn't help breaking out in a cold sweat from the pressure the two had just unleashed. He quickly pulled up the feed to see how the match was going. A camera shielded by Dain's power still hovered at the scene, unbroken, recording the battle. Through the thick smoke and dust, only Stardust could be seen standing there. Her gaze was resolute, looking straight ahead with unwavering vigilance. The ground had split into a massive chasm, a testament to the horrifying destructive force of the recent attacks. Electra, clutching her injured arm, slowly emerged from the smoke. Stardust then asked, "Who was the him you mentioned earlier?" Stardust recalled Electra's words and said she had come to deal with Stardust because of him. Stardust pressed further, asking if there was a mastermind behind Electra. Electra gritted her teeth and refused to utter a single word. Seeing that, Stardust said, "Fine, then I'll extract the information myself." Suddenly a purple energy surge appeared along with a hand wrapping around Electra. Electra vanished immediately afterward. Stardust frowned at that familiar power, wondering could it be. When she finished the thought a familiar voice rang out, "Hello, Miss Stardust." Stardust looked up, startled, turning to locate the source of the voice. Before her, Dain hovered in midair holding Electra in his arms. He answered confidently, "Yes. It's me. Dain smiled smugly and said, long time no see, haven't we? At the same time, Dain's EGO stream channel went live. Viewership skyrocketed as people grew excited at his unexpected appearance. The stream audience was extremely curious about the beautiful girl Dain was holding. They began speculating about their relationship, some even suggesting it was an affair right in front of Stardust. Still shaken, Stardust clutched her head and asked, Egotic, you're still alive? Dain looked puzzled by Stardust's question, then laughed and replied, of course I'm still alive. Even if that's not good news for you. Haha. Stardust looked at Dain and said, is that so? How fortunate. Dain seemed to realize something and said, huh? Just now. Stardust flushed with anger and embarrassment. Dain seized the chance to tease, oh my, I didn't expect Stardust to care about me so much. Should I notify you next time that I'm safe? Ha ha ha. Electra weakly asked, hey, why did you arrive so late? Dain smiled and said, sorry, I needed to watch until the very last moment. The image of Dain holding Electra was reflected in Stardust's eyes. She tried to make sense of what was happening. Suddenly, Dain sensed a terrifying murderous intent. He looked in surprise toward where it was coming from. Stardust appeared with blazing red eyes and her whole body aflame. She stared at Dain and Electra with a look of hatred. Electra was terrified and shouted, hey, what's wrong with her? She looks terrifying. Dain held Electra tightly and observed, let's see, it looks like she's about to tear us two villains apart right in front of her. Dain continued to tease, suggesting perhaps this was the hero's rage, which made Stardust blush with embarrassment. Before Dain appeared, Stardust spoke up and asked, why are you here, Egotic? Dain was holding the villainous Electra in his arms. He wondered if he was the one being called, then answered himself that he came to rescue his teammates. Stardust lowered her face, she muttered the word teammate with a skeptical and puzzled look. Dain paid no mind to Stardust's attitude, he excitedly declared he would introduce everyone to his new teammates. Immediately, a huge three-dimensional screen appeared in midair displaying the words Ego Stream along with silhouettes of the group members. The heroine Stardust looked up in stunned silence. Dain proudly proclaimed this was an alliance, a group of villains who would operate together under the name Ego Stream. Stardust was completely shocked. The idea of a villain alliance was unprecedented and left her astonished and aghast. Dain continued his performance, hovering as he asserted he had teammates as powerful as Electra in his arms. Forced to become evidence for Dain's words, Electra showed clear annoyance. Meanwhile Dain declared he would no longer terrorize alone. Dain issued a warning to Stardust, then corrected himself saying this warning was for all of Korea, which made Stardust even angrier. Right after, Dain excitedly ordered Electra forward Electra, discharge 1,000,000 volts. Electra complied and released a powerful bolt of electricity, but she could not accept that name. She screamed in anger, I told you not to do that. The powerful electric bolt from Electra struck downward, causing Stardust to be flung far away. Taking advantage of the chaos, Dain quickly escaped, leaving a taunt that Stardust was still too inexperienced to catch him. Mocked by his opponent and escaping before her eyes, Stardust could only helplessly scream in fury. To vent her anger, Stardust slammed a devastating punch into the ground, cracking the earth. Standing amid the rubble, Stardust felt a filth and shame like never before. She gritted her teeth and called out both Electra and Egotic, deepening this hatred. In Stardust's imagination it was entirely different from reality. She pictured Dain and Electra being intimate, Dain proudly boasting he had many cute teammates and of course the cutest was Electra, while Electra shyly replied, oh what are you saying? I told you not to do that. Thinking this, a flame of hatred burned within Stardust. She vowed that at their next encounter she would definitely destroy Egotic. The scene shifted to a dark alley. Dain arrived at a secret spot and stared at the brick wall wondering if this was the place. Suddenly, Dain gathered strength in his fist and shouted, come here. A powerful punch from Dain smashed the wall causing it to crack and reveal a passage. After entering, Dain landed in a dim corridor. He looked around then said I found the right spot. Dain walked down the ancient hallway lit by blue flame candles. This was a secret path hidden behind a false wall. At the end of the corridor, Dain faced a massive jet black door radiating brilliant and majestic light. The door slowly opened. Dain stepped into a completely different space. Upon entering, Dain spoke hello. It was a woman with mesmerizing green hair known as the Vine Witch. She sat amid an enchanted garden, looked up at the stranger and asked why he had come. Facing the Vine Witch, Dain got straight to the point. He had come to ask her to use magic to seal his items. Dain placed 2 journals and a chest on the table. One journal recorded every event that had happened in the world up to now, and the other would record what happened from now on. Vine Witch glanced at the red gem Dain offered as payment. She appeared pleased. remarking it was a beautiful stone and agreeing to grant the request. Vine Witch asked about the duration of the sealing. Dain answered decisively, requesting both items be sealed until his death. Dain's request surprised Vine Witch somewhat. She closed her eyes and pondered this strange proposal. After a moment, Vine Witch began the ritual. She raised her hands above the journals and a brilliant magic circle began to form. Dain stood silently watching as Vine Witch, surrounded by plants and magic, chanted a complex spell. Green and gold magical energy poured from Vine Witch's hands, enveloping the journals and the chest. When the magic finished, a glowing sigil appeared on the books. Vine Witch announced that from now on no one could peek inside except their owner. Dain politely thanked her. Transaction complete. Dain turned and left. Vine Witch watched silently as smoke from her pipe curled through the air. As Dain neared the exit, Vine Witch warned that the path he was choosing would be extremely difficult. Dain paused. Dain did not turn back. He was silent for a moment, then offered a faint smile, replying that it was a path someone had to take. Dain appeared on the rooftop of a high-rise, purple energies swirling around him against the city's blazing sunset. He looked down at the vast city and reflected, this was also where he decided his purpose in this world. On a large advertising screen, the image of the heroine Stardust appeared, and it seemed all of Dain's thoughts were directed toward her. Dain stretched and told himself that from now on truly amazing things would happen. In a moment of vulnerability and emotion, Dain cried out desperately, begging Stardust to trust only him. Dain's dramatic moment was cut short by a phone call. Seo-eun shouted into the phone, urging him to come home for dinner because everyone was waiting. Harshly pulled back to reality, Dain calmly answered that he would come home immediately. Seo-eun on the other end angrily ordered him to be there in 3 seconds. After the call, Dain regained his usual calm and confidence. He smiled faintly as he looked toward the sunset. He declared that now was the time for the final event of Stage 1. At the same time, on a highway in Korea, a truck was moving along normally, unaware of the disaster about to strike. In a secret control room, a group of scientists worked. An older man, seemingly their leader, announced that the final moment had arrived. Immediately, the highway surface violently broke from below, producing a massive explosion. From beneath the earth, a huge yellow mechanical component rose up, heralding the arrival of a new threat. The giant machine fully emerged from the ground. It was a massive yellow combat robot. It wreaked horrific destruction on the highway. Drivers panicked and screamed in despair. The elderly man leading the new villain group smiled wickedly. He spoke out, calling his comrades and declaring that this country Korea had oppressed them. The robot began attacking the city, causing large explosions from afar. Amid the chaos the man's voice rang out, declaring that it was time to destroy everything.